What's going on, Fortnite fam? We are back with week 2 of the FNCS Invitational. This time, we've got Shy Wager, we got Ball at TW. We're going to be bringing the heat like those first 2 games of EU did. Now, guys, what I want to do is take here a moment to talk about the standings as we saw them right before, as we get ready for the next set of games. There's a lot of big names there that are right on the edge of potentially not qualifying, while others like Aqua are pushing into that top 80. I mean, Aqua wasn't even top 100 yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to kind of rehash and look at the overall leaderboard, because that's what matters at the end of everything. So first place right now still being held on by Noah, but yeah, you're right. There are some stories, some stragglers of people who, you know, weren't in range, were at risk. Aqua was a big one to me. There's players like Stompy as well. I mean, so many names that we still have yet to see if they're actually going to qualify.
That's right, man. We'll have to see. It's going to become close, but we're ready to get into the next set of games. So, gentlemen, take us in.
All right, we tune right back into what we've been seeing all around the map, all the way from Pleasant down to the Slippery Swamps. It's getting crazy. It's European FNCS Invitationals Day 2 of week number 2.
Shy, do that again, man. Give us another intro to that game.
All right, let's hop in. Boys, let's get it ready. EU, we already know how it gets. It's week number 2. This is kind of the last ride, the last final 10 games for all of these guys. We've been talking about overall leaderboards when it comes to the top 80. Now, we can say names, we can talk about the game all we want. The thing on the line, though, is how does it actually affect these players and their decisions when they're moving from box to box, right? We have people climbing up the top 80. These guys will have struggles, and they will try to play more aggressively. Hopefully, not hopefully, but sometimes ruining people's games who are near the top, who are trying to play passive. At the same time, the people up top are just trying to hold, keep their lead over. We talked about Noah before. We haven't seen him just yet, but when we do, we'll tune in with the Lord of the region up top, just trying to hold on to that lead.
And we're also going to see some adjustments out of Day 2. Possible that Dynamic is doing one of those right now. You already saw some beams coming out of Pleasant Park, and he does push in after a couple tags onto Dexy to close things out. 2 elims on what looked like a strategy that I think he might have gone to the drawing board yesterday with, because sitting in that bush and getting third-party tags that early in the game is not really something that you actually see too often, and he gets himself 2 elims out of it.
These are strats that you usually see at the starts of tournaments, the game 1s, but this is kind of close to game 12, 13, 14 for a lot of these players. People are still in the same kind of mindset that they were yesterday, slightly refreshed, but then also looking to just, you know, pull back the same strategies time and time again. This is one of the spots we saw all around the world, NA East, EU, Middle East, where third parties and big fights start to break down. Matix is going to get right into it as well and be the one on high ground. That being said, anything can happen depending on how fast this fight gets, and it seems like the player he's fighting is slightly asleep at the wheel, not covering walls all around him, but if that is the case, this fight should be over quickly.
And I think he is making him a little bit drowsy, because this is putting him in the spin cycle. Matix on the diving, and a lot of loot earned for Matix in that one fight. We've watched this location be the center of a lot of the quick early game fights. And I think it's because the routes clash so hard on these rotations from the players. In solos, tend to go for kind of little outskirts houses, 1 or 2, 3 or 4 chests, and then they have to try to go to other places. And in that case, goes quickly. Wolfie's in this game. We're going to watch another fight here right outside of Craggy Cliffs, and it's going to go all the way right on the side of this mountain. Yura trying to find a way out. He does almost get a tack shot in, but then he gets put in the spin cycle himself, finds a way out of it. And where does it go from here?
These fights are just sticky. No matter what happens, these players are just box to box when the cone's right in front of your face. It just feels claustrophobic. Right now, Yura is just trying to get past this, trying to just find a little bit of room to breathe, and doesn't actually need it. Takes out a Vesta. He gets wrapped up, and now there's still more to do at Craggy. The game's still not pushed on the full way into the mid-game, and already we see big bases being built all around the map.
And Maestro, we saw fight so many times throughout the Invitational so far, throughout week 1 and week 2. He's in another one, right on the river, right on the stream, and he does get the jump, but misses the shot onto Pepe. He's going to back up. There's a minigun here to pressure, but they're going to trade. That goal they are is actually be able to put a little bit more DPS out at that range, I think, for Pepe, plus the potential just of high burst damage if it connects with a couple of headshots. But it slows down. He does get right back on top. I'm wondering if they're actually going to fight or if they're going to try to disengage with that stream.
It's all decisions, but I haven't seen a fight yet unless a grappler is involved get fully disengaged, and I don't think anyone actually has the room to do so, although loadouts are basically filled out all the way to the brim, and people have the mats to fight. When they actually get invested and they end up spending 200, 300 materials, you get into moments like this where it's just, you know, everything on the walls, you have to be invested. Pepe goes down, and it's Maestro who finds that elimination. Now you can see what I was talking about. His materials as well, after that fight ends, aren't too many in his inventory. Yes, he has that big loadout. Not too many upgrades from, you know, that fight at all. He still gets to move on, though, with the points, and that's what really matters here. I was talking about the grappler. We're going to move right back into the Shark. Freemock's actually going to be on the offensive, moving in towards from the island/lighthouse. Lukey, now a new kind of thing that's going on. Taken out first. Usually he's the man that gets that elimination early on at this POI. The Freemock will move in sneakily, looking for big tags and beams. Just a 30 tag on the shield. But regardless, we're talking about people committing to fights. Not even a few mats invested. They're going straight for these early game points. These early game elims, I don't expect this fight to last too long, even though, yes, we are at the Shark.
And Freemock is somebody who is very at risk. He was nowhere in that top 80 after day one. And so today he's got to really overtake this. It is going to be a really nice start onto the player in front of him. He gets Mini, and also with that he gets Sky's loadouts. The card is still there, I believe, unless that's just the grappler. So possibly the vault open already. And I don't see anybody else on the minimap. That might mean there's room to get there. I think I see the launch pad in Freemock's inventory, which might indicate that that vault already opened and looted, but there might be more. Regardless, this is what you needed from Freemock. Already at 29 points so far, probably in his third or fourth game. If he wants to be there in the grand finals, he needs to have at least 100 or 130 points to make it through, based on probably the projection of around 180 points required overall.
It's all about getting through these thresholds, but when you're in a box fight, you can't actually think of that totally. And hey, forget box fights. If you have an opportunity to get that fall damage elim done, Maestro, 1, 2, 3, easy peasy, has it there for him. 14 total points.
Some of these fights looking like Season 3, Season 4, the amount of height that they're going for. I mean, we saw Magin fighting at basically this same position right here, go way, way, way up. And there was a couple of resets on the full build fight that ended up costing lives. But this is Chapter 2. There is water in play.
There's also patterns in play too. Caxi, once again, trapped in a fight where he doesn't have the full advantage in Storm. Now just, I think, 2 seconds left to land one more shot. It's not going to be possible. It's the last possible second, actually, on the Bafo. He gets to live. I was about to just go into full roast mode because we saw just 2 games ago Caxi fall in a box fight, and one that I think he should have won this time. One that he should have lost, he ends up winning out in. That being said, we tuned into this portion of the map before. We knew where the zone was going. It's slightly close. Can he just get back in? Have enough HP to live out? I mean, the yacht's there. We'll tune into Maestro once again, though. I feel like he's the star of the show right now with this W key. We talked about the Grotto minigun. Brutus's minigun not being the best thing for solos, but he's finding ways to make it work and just complementing it with that golden AR.
That's exactly what he's doing. And W King at this length right now, 3 eliminations. He got 12 points so far in this game, 6 total in another one. So first 2 games maybe not going in the direction that he wanted. Maybe he's starting to get a little bit desperate. We have seen him fight a lot in multiple games, but this is the last day, the last opportunity to push into that top 80 to get into the grand finals. Other players, CRR, SR4, CRR was on pace yesterday. Pretty much right next to his cohort in Mitro, and it looks like he has quite a lot of space here at the agency. And the drum gun, but the vault not open yet.
And it's a risk every time you open it, especially when you leave a 1v1 disengaged at this drop spot, because people end up hiding the loot in there, the amount of shields, the ammo, the free launch pad. I mean, I wait an entire game, maybe 2, to get access, especially if I don't have the card. It's just too tempting. And right now, the person who is waiting inside is going to be waiting for CRR to move in, hopefully get it from what angle is the question. Slightly close to the vault. Does he own any of these walls? No. So someone's already been here before him. The sky's now gone as well, so henchmen and all these radars will see him coming and alert people when he's next to the vault. I think he just opened it up, so now we'll see some developments. But that's just the name of the game in the agency. Every single Mythic POI. All throughout the map, though, Maestro will be our avatar of sorts to show us exactly which fights are going to be ended quickly.
And he did end the day one on 46 points, so really does need a solid, big performance, basically at the top of the second day leaderboard. And so far, so good with the W key playstyle. It looks like he might be able to clean up. Yes, there's a heavy snipe in the minigun right on top of the cone. Yes, instantly. Low HP for the other player, and that's Ferox. Another solid player on the cusp of not eliminating, and he eats him right up.
He's just cooking. He's getting things to that right temperature to just munch on every single person in this competition right now. This is like 4 back-to-back fights that we've seen this man just roll through, and I would say record time. And I was going to say maybe move on to that 5th, but now some strategic positioning in play, moving around, catching up to the rest of the game where you don't have a chance to W key as hard.
Yeah.
So move over to the Sweaty Sands where things will definitely get harder and a lot more sweaty.
The last 3 elims for him were kind of easy pickings. I mean, the first fight was hard. The first fight was difficult, but since then it's really been just people that he can third-party, people that he knows are in a rough spot, that he can use Brutus's minigun to great advantage to get in and clean up. So I think everything's so solid from Maestro. Clearly looking to be on the aggressive and taking those opportunities when he can, whereas other players might opt not to. So far, so good. It's working out for him.
And overall, right now, between him with Skype, he's at about 133rd place overall. Has 26 points moving into this day, 9 so far. Now, remember, on a delay, we can always be tuning in to these stories as they develop. We could see how he got all the way up to this spot. That might just be 133rd overall for today. So, on the whole competition, we'll get an update to exactly where he is. But we'll see a game coming out of him. Julian Calm, though, walking around. Brizzy as well. Boxed up. Launch pads on all these individuals. And these guys will be kind of the key components towards end and mid game when it comes to getting rotation down for the rest of the server. We saw the trouble Toos got into end game when he just found one launch pad, couldn't actually access it, then afterwards wanted to jump to another. Over here, though, we'll see Brizzy moving in, deciding where to base up. If he does get in trouble, he can use that mobility. If not, though, he can just hide out at the edges of the zone and shoot heavy sniper bullets. We've seen this weapon connect at big ranges and just give people that free elimination without being box to box based off of the enemy's mispositioning.
I think that's CRR. Yes, it is CRR. You can just tell by the skin. I was going to ask for a drip check earlier because he's full mythical creature right now on the side. And Brizzy is not going to be able to get the loot. But CRR out of this game right here. He's going to have to go on to the next one. That does not necessarily mean he's down and out for the count, because I think he was certainly in contention for the top 80. One of the better controller players, so we would expect him to be up there. But for now, he's out of this one, and unfortunately, it feels like every time we watch him on the Fortnite broadcast, he gets eliminated in quick fashion. Speaking of Sweaty Sands, speaking of position, Mongrel has basically not moved this entire time. He's up at the top of the hotel in Sweaty Sands.
And although that's something that's really good, a lot of the times for this format specifically, you're missing out on a lot of things, and that's eliminations all around the map. And when it comes to Mongrel, we know how fast and easy it is for him to win these box fights. He's given up one of the biggest strengths of his gameplay, I think, to be in this position. But that means we can basically understand his game plan and what he wants to do this game. It's just about getting information, surveying, looking at, who are the weak builders who are rotating, getting maybe a little bit too greedy. Can I get comfortable with all my tags? I'm going to get active once those moving zones start, and I'm going to be in the prime position first.
I think that shift in his playstyle is actually a key reason for why he's doing so well in this week's Invitational, because last weekend was kind of middling, around 100th place for Mongrel. Not where you would want him to be, but I think where we've kind of expected him to be in these solo tournaments over the past couple of months. Now, all of a sudden it's a shift. 10th place yesterday, 6th place in a Cash Cup earlier in the week, and then 4th place in the last Cash Cup. Something has clicked for Mongrel. And I think today, he still has the potential to overtake the people at the top, Noah and Lecce.
There are some other people, though, that got thrown into the mix. I believe Versa kind of made him stumble yesterday earlier on when the competition just started. So even though there is big confidence, big momentum swings for these players, they have to stay vigilant and make sure they're making the right decisions and not making mistakes. We've seen how much one game, one individual moment in one game can matter. Even just a placement point, the tiebreakers all the way at the top down to 80th place. They're just so close. You want to make sure you make the best out of every single moment.
Castry in the game, Darker. Not sure where their position. Castry, I think, played very well. Oh, here's a big one. A big name, Wolfies. Was very good yesterday. I believe 5th place for him. And honestly, I was looking at his standings, looking at his match history. Another shift for him too, because he had the 2nd highest average placement out of the top 5. And looking at his match history, only one of those did he fail to convert on score, and he went out in 100th. I think definitely something went wrong for him in that game, because that's uncharacteristic. But he didn't fall off spawn, he didn't fall in mid-game fights, it was endgame every single time. And for Wolfies, that's a far cry from his aggressive playstyle, the W key get in your box mentality for him since the World Cup days after getting 2nd there. Nice pick off from Jachu on a Xeno. It's going to net him a little bit, but most importantly I think the Elim there, because Jachu was already looking very good on materials.
Same time though, Xeno being taken out this early in this game specifically, we've seen how sticky he can be towards these end games, how invasive he can be in people's boxes, ending up surviving and holding down layers. It's going to open up a lot of flexibility and options for other people in the server to be able to move around freely, especially in that 8th and 9th zone. Jachu will chill, and possibly one of the best boxes available at Sweaty Sands. Meanwhile, a 4-man condominium stack. We'll pick and choose to see who leaves first once this zone does close in.
Yura collects the rents onto Lysen right there across the way. And even with the harpoon, he gets maybe a little extra. Maybe a bit of a bully there in the condominium. Yura, 72 builds. And he pays a little bit there for something that I don't think he really needed to go for at all. I think he might have thought that there was extra stuff down below his builds. Maybe harpoon dropped it outside. But no. And now everybody waits for the 5th zone. Guys, if you're just joining us, if you're wondering why we continuously talk about the top 80, this is day 2 of week 2's Invitational. Next weekend is the grand finals, where we will be down to 100 players. And from here, the top 80 people in this weekend's competition will qualify for that grand finals. So that's the importance there. But still, prizing on the line. So for the people like Wolfies, who were 5th place yesterday, they still have the potential to get $50,000 for placing first. And that's definitely on the minds of players like that, but everybody else also thinking about that top 80.
That's basically the two sides of the coin today. It's just people trying to grab towards the top. Darker right now trying to just reach in the boxes, and he does hold on to a big elimination and the loot as well from it. Gonna have the option, no, it gets taken away. Now he's at the risky territory, but slightly safe. Oh no, now he's in a very sticky situation. Has to get out of it, trying to, and the end game's about to start too.
That it is. We've got 5th zone. A lot of people starting to make their rotation, but just want to talk about that play really quickly, because Darker obviously got the Elim onto Kura. You talked about the horde of loot there, but then instantly gets shot out by a harpoon player down a layer. And that baited Darker to go down one, but that was not his build, so instantly there was edits, instantly there was spray, and he gets punished for a play that was certainly a little too risky.
Yeah, right now you talk about risk, you talk about how the game's developing, it's just so congested into just the Sweaty Sands Hotel. Everyone's finally here, and it's two main sides that everyone's on. Right now, Shando is finding his main way to get in the boxes, trying to find the tags, but doesn't all the way get there in the most comfortable fashion. Taken down on all shields, on all fronts as well. Has about 600 mats left. How many will he use on this defensive run here? Finally looks like he's stabilized, gets the shield up. But just look over at this hotel side. People have to be checking out, but at the same time being careful box to box as to what's going to be going on. On the other side of things, there's a very small community. The 4 base now expanded to about an 8 once people launch padded in, and they'll have the favor on where to move in zone. The entire lobby is basically going to be at the beck and call of these 8 individuals.
And every one of these impacts, every one of these elims starts to get so consequential. I mean, Stompy just went down there to Shando. Stompy, one of the most influential players in solos back in the World Cup qualifier days, in tournaments just like this. Maestro continues, heavy sniper in the box, and that's now 5 for him. With a creative little play, landing directly into it, using the momentum to get right in the box, and also the surprise element of players. The awareness, so difficult to track players flying by your lair out of the launch pad. Well played from Maestro.
And he was playing the long game this entire time with the heavy sniper, looking for box-to-box action. Now he's flipped the switch, launch pad in play, taking that heavy sniper down for floppers. He's looking to play in the storm, looking to get big action into this game. We see all these layers developing time and time again. He's still sticking back though, waiting to push people forward first, then get in from the pressure he creates. Right now looks like he has a free line of sight to where the zone's coming in from. Picks up Ryza, who gets taken out, and then after that moves back into his box, catches up to his position. He does have the advantage on the next zone, has a lot of materials. This could be a huge 10+ elimination game for Maestro as long as he stays safe. There's another one instantly picked up. A response on the Shando, who we saw earlier, the minigun, to just compliment right after that. He's still going in. 7 total eliminations, looking for the 8th.
I wonder if he's getting a little too far ahead of himself. He is going to duck down into Storm and also duck down to a massive ultimate low ground position. Launch padding ahead too. Should find himself somewhere, but he's right next to Castery now. The other strong players trying to push their way up. He was over at 8 heat yesterday. Maestro, though, not in the qualification range. He tries to follow up, but no. It gets actually stolen. Mongrel was in this for a second as Janice takes him down. Maestro's at 7 right now, and he's still looking for more. Decipto somewhere in this game as well. One of the strong players from week 1, possibly a potential win for him, but this minigun is doing so much damage. That's another one there.
Let's talk about Maestro, someone in control. He's the individual starting off the entire chaos in this endgame. When things are silent, everyone hears his minigun first, then they react, and more shots are put down, but you don't need that big pressure when you have that close range tack as well. He gets another one. That's Deciptos, the person Balo was talking about. Another big contender taken out of this insanely stacked endgame. 8 people still left as we wait for that 8th zone to wrap up. Maestro still holding the line at the edge. This is such a good ebb and flow of tactics here. He's going forward, looking for pressure, then playing back, waiting for people to respond. And he's going to do it once again, just holding back with that minigun, raining down terror on everyone who's on that backside. Picks up one tactical shotgun switch again for the 3rd time for the next. 10 eliminations now for Maester. He is insane at the moment.
And he even finds the time to pop the shield potion right back up to close to 200. Yachu still in this Dako as well. Wondering who the 3rd player or the 4th player would be. Maestro, though, looking, and he's actually hunting for this victory royale. He's got 64 materials based on all the impacts, but he holds one out and then gets stuck. 2 players right next to him. It's Freemock, the last remaining player, and I don't even think that anybody realizes they have ultimate height right now. I think they're all in a jumble of old builds.
Yeah, this is going to be a very confusing thing to kind of break down, a labyrinth of sorts vertically in terms of the builds that are available all the way still near Sweaty Sands. Freemock, though, in the final 1v1 will be on height and have the grappler, so he knows that there's no one that can really contest him with a surprise item. He has full control of the situation, looking to end it now, though. Just has that mythic AR to have a say on things down below. A minigun, though, to answer it. That was Maestro's before. He lands a big 74 headshot tag at his opponent down below. It's Jachu, who we saw before, take out so many different people in that mid game. Now looking to close the end. Builds are going to be the thing that are important here. Just looking for that final tack shot, and Freemock finds it. 5 total eliminations. Just a few builds left, but it doesn't matter. He has that win, and he's looking very strong here on day 2.
And Jatsu gave him the window, jumped up, tried to surprise him with a shot of his own, but no, Fremont is too quick and has the high ground advantage to make it work. And Zeke, I think that game was a story of people basically coming back from the ashes, rising from the depths of the leaderboard, because Maestro was there at the bottom, and so was Fremont. Two players who we might expect to be in the top 80 at the end of this do put their mark so far on day 2.
And I think that's such a great point. That's actually what I wanted to talk to you guys was about. Is yesterday we saw Maestro in 231st place with only 46 points, and today he's kicking it up a notch. And what I loved so much about that game, and we saw not only Maestro do it, but a few other players as well, is that now in day 2, they understand this is it. Everything has to be put on the line right here, right now. And for Maestro, he's running around looking for opportunities, waiting for anyone to make the smallest mistake, and absolutely taking advantage of them and sending them back to lobby. It's ridiculous.
I mean, the thing is that all these people who he's fighting against are good players, especially in the defensive category, right? They know how to stop box fights. And when you have Brutus's minigun, which you don't really see, you know, it's kind of an unorthodox thing. Usually it's the drum gun or an SMG in a box. The fact that it stays just online for so long in an engagement and never stops and never really have to reload it, I think that's the reason, just this game specifically, he was allowed to do what he did.
Yeah, and I mean, not to take away from all the different players there, but there was so many gaps in a lot of different layers throughout that game for Maestro. Not only in the early game, Zeke, you're talking about him looking for opportunities, but it basically was that throughout even the end game. I mean, there was spots where it looked like, yeah, you could spray a bunch of miniguns through, or minigun bullets through, use all the light ammunition up, but there was holes in defenses and also people not really having the awareness that Maestro was able to take advantage of.
And I mean, players left and right being eliminated. We saw people like Mongrel, who yesterday was in 10th place, being taken out, right? This competition right now is so close. At any moment, anyone can just completely come out from outside of 80th into the top 80.
I think one thing that we all missed in that game was Wolfies made it into top like 6 or 7 in that one, and that again is a placement game for Wolfies. Yes, it wasn't a number of elims. He might have slowed down on that front in terms of these games in week 2, but man, is he looking good. And don't forget, he was in 5th place yesterday, so if there's anybody out of that game, yes, those players, Fremont and Maestro, might have pushed themselves in the qualification range. Wolfies might start to creep up on Noah, might start to creep up on Lecce, his former duo partner.
And that's absolutely something we have to remember, right? It's something that I kind of said earlier, was just because we don't see that Victory Royale number, like X Victory Royales on the standings, does not mean that they're not placing top 5, right? Like, even placing something like 2nd is basically like getting a Victory Royale. It's basically like an elimination's worth of points difference. So even if they're not getting Victory Royales, placing in that top 5 will still propel them and give them momentum. Because for a lot of these guys, that's what they need right now. And some of them haven't quite got that yet.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to winning games, it's big momentum for the next one, but it also sometimes puts like big expectations for you to have that as the leading factor to you doing well, right? If people are comfortable with just playing a kind of medium play style, going for good, constant, consistent games overall, I feel like that's a better mindset to kind of hold with, especially over 20 games. Like, although you have more opportunities to get wins, it's a lot more different game to game in terms of, you know, what is the atmosphere looking like? What zone are we in? Who's in my game? You can't really plan as much for that win. That's a little bit easier in that custom, the same 100 player format. So this is kind of a challenge for a lot of experienced players and like new players alike.
And I think something too to touch on real quickly is that we might focus a lot on eliminations because it's exciting, but the placement is really what puts people and that combination up at the top.
Well, guys, it's time to see more eliminations and who takes the next game here in EU. Take it away, gentlemen.
Here we go, game 2. And we're starting off with what looks to be 8 or 9 players here in Misty Meadows. This is going to be a quick one and an explosive one, not one that we're used to seeing. Yes, a lot of players drop here, but not this amount. This might be every single player who's playing in the Invitational this weekend landing in one single game, and that's the beauty of 300 players playing in a matchmaking style, is you never know what's going to happen if there's going to be 9 players at your drop spot or uncontested.
Hey, drop spots become hot and then super heat up in moments like these, absolutely. If you look at the way placement's handed out, you want to get down to that 75 as fast as possible sometimes if you are on that aggressive run. because sometimes winning is just not enough. You need those big elims, a nice turnaround from Balasconi, who gets a big pickup there. Zeno now taken out once again. Second time on a row on the broadcast. And still, though, there's just so much more to get at Misty Meadows. Both sides, this POI is going to split off in half. This side usually is a little bit more calm and takes a little bit of time to get rolling. That right side is where more 50-50s happen, but right now, from house to house, people are just diving through the front door, looking for that fast elimination, looking for the quick third party. This time, Balasconi's there, looking for the next one to pick up, trying to pre-fire a few pump shots, getting that third party I was talking about earlier, though. He's got to move in just to make sure he doesn't get shot up anymore. Trying to control a few walls, finding out exactly where this player is hiding. It'll be the attic, and the cleaning man's there, wipes out the dust, gets that elimination right into his overall count of 4 before this game even gets started.
Through the chimney, he sweeps that up. Oh my goodness, Balasconi is playing this very well in the early game so far, and I think the way that he's playing is basically how you have to play this right here, because you said it. There is a lot of loot here at Misty Meadows, but I think it's mostly all taken at this point with how many people have got it and gotten out of here. So these fights, whenever they kind of break out between different parties, one person fighting on one side, one person fighting on the other, they spend the shield, spend the resources that makes other things get drawn out. So Balasconi taking good advantage of that and also not trading his HP too much.
And because of the speed of how much looting happens, you basically have like 8 moving chests walking around with loadouts. Every single individual here has looted a few houses. Balasconi as well is the only individual to do it in such style. A double ramp flip to pick that one up.
5 elims is what he's on so far out of this early game. It's not even halfway through the first zone, even starting to move. And he's up there. And he's still pushing for more. He's scouting these opportunities. And I think he's going to get more. Tohaj and Sino out in the distance fighting as well. Up visibly where Balasconi can see them. And those guys are not going to have any loot at all. And now in comparison to what Balasconi has, 6 minis, Harpoon fully charged, and a loadout to boot. That will put anybody out here to shame because there's just a cabin's worth of loot out here. Tohaj cleans it up, but I think at cost because Balasconi's right there on top to end things quickly for Tohaj.
Yep, the pump might not connect. The cheeky just one tag from the AR in this box fight. You're talking about the loot he has. I'm looking at the ammo count in total right now. He can just stay online longer compared to his opponents, and because of that, be even more confident. Straight in the box. Nice cone replay. This player who's trying to survive right now, but it's not going to be possible. Balasconi with the 6th pickup, I think at record speed that we've seen so far, and it's just because of how volatile the system is and the fact that there was about 10 people landing Misty Meadows.
And he was ready for it. This is preparation. This is playing your cash cups every time to the fullest to have these W key games where you just play that many people in the cash cups or in your game to start things off. Mongrel in a big build fight. This is way above the hotel. And going so high, I'm getting a little nervous for him, but he's up there and he's hanging. Metal being expected. He's got no more builds and he's up at the top, but he does take out Primsy Revenge from yesterday. And oh my goodness, this build fight is so high. Thankfully, mostly Metal. Thankfully, it's not going to be able to get chopped too quickly. He's going to take the siphon on the way down. In terms of the materials, there was a player lurking down in the garage, and I don't think he's actually spotting or looking at this build fight, because if he was, I think he would have been at the bottom of this, chopping it all down.
We saw last game, Matix was still here playing around sweaty sands. We saw yesterday, Versa played against Mongrel at the very first game. Versa actually took out Matix as we were watching that Misty Meadows fight break down, and now I think he might be the person who's hiding all the way down below.
So it might not have been full direct revenge, but maybe indirect, because Versa duos with Primsy and duoed with him throughout all the FNCS. So Mongrel takes out at least one half of that, so possible revenge in an indirect way. He's got to be careful though. I don't think he realized that this player's right next to him. Right so near, and there it is, the beams. Does lose his shield, but he has minis to get right back up to that, and he does back up into the garage. Finds a spot where he can build all 4 walls, no gaps left at all. But he is there. He goes right back up though. Opens up the gap, and now he just listens. Where did he go? Is there potential here for me to go anywhere else? Yes, back down to the garage, and I get a big pot to put myself up to 200 HP. Just got to find the time now.
Ensar right now who has the HP advantage, but Mongrel will quickly try to just put the winning side to himself. It's not going to be possible. Big Tag's traded. He goes down, and a little bit of a celebration from Ensar here. It's a big chance for a lot of other people to catch up now in that overall cumulative leaderboard. Ensar might be one of them, but Mongrel will not have to wait in queue once again to get his game going.
Somebody whose game has gotten going and is still rolling, Balasconi. Don't forget about him because he's now 6 eliminations. He's upgraded his pump shotgun from blue. He's started his fishing route a little bit, gotten 1 flopper, but I think everything else basically going to be gone by now. Yes, there might have been a lot of players in Misty Meadows, but also means a lot of players already gotten their way out. There is 1 hole there, though that might not actually be there in reality. But more third parties, as Lazy Lake probably went through a similar thing in terms of how many people were landing here, and he is going to come up on a nice fight, a good angle, too, to look at it.
I would say right now that his fishing route continues because so far he's been treating every single person like a slurp fisher or a flopper. It's just an instant quick grab, one and done, chase down. He's going to try to set it up once again. Needs a big tag here. Will it be from that big pump shotgun? It's Bad Sniper and Huddy that take big trades, but Balasconi's didn't pick up the first. The next one might go to him as well, and that could be huge. It's easy, and it's cleaned up. The timing, impeccable.
That was beautiful from Balasconi, too. Didn't just dive that box. Yes, he got the first one on a Bad Sniper right head on, straight up, right over top of that. But instantly as that happened, he didn't spend time looting. He went over top, behind, find the path that the other player, Huddy, needed to actually be aware of and be quick enough to realize that. And he's looking for more now. Balasconi gets a heavy snipe off of that, an extra flopper, some materials, an AR upgrade to the burst. And there's another player who's directly in his sights. And don't forget, this is still first zone. Don't forget that that is just now starting to close. We finally reveal second zone. He's got 8 eliminations already. This is ridiculous.
He's basically already made that big endgame moment happen. Right now, just looking to get a little bit more, but possibly, biting off a little bit more than he can chew. That being said, the timing of that game, the amount of points he got, I think that's a good run.
That was probably the most efficient game that you could possibly ever have. Remember, eliminations are worth 4 points. And he probably just played 6 minutes worth of a game, and that's it. And got how many? So 8 eliminations. I'm just going to act like he had 10 to make the math easy. 40 eliminations, 32 points total. And he's already back to the lobby. He's already queuing for the next game. He's already ready to go. I mean, sure, there's going to be wasted time in the queue times for him, possibly 5 to 10 minutes. I think is what it is for the most part for the 300 players that we're looking at. But I've got to say that's very efficient. You spend normally 25 minutes for a full game to get, in a really, really good one, 70, 60 points. If it's just placement, it's only 33 out of a win. You got to think about that. Put that in perspective. He basically just got a victory royale.
Yeah, definitely. Even more so than that, too, because he got a little bit of placement. I think almost that 50th place threshold as well. That being said, though, we'll tune in with them afterwards. Now, the main man to focus on, I guess, should be Mr. Savage, because this could be a game now that Balasconi's out and he's taking out big names who give Savage trouble in the past in endgame. He's going to have a little bit of an easier run here towards the end. 50 people in total as well.
Things are going to slow down from here because there's a couple players, Balasconi included, who probably just took out a lot of the different lobby, but they're probably now down and out or looking for positions. So it's certainly going to get quieter, certainly going to get slower as players start to make their rotation.
It's funny because we see people walk by on so many different POIs just seeing each other. Sometimes in a game before, shooting off each other, picking each other up fast. And in the next game, things can be so different. You can have one player just ruin the entire lobby, even mid-game glory. That's Julian Calm. We saw this man in the final 1v1 situation, now taken out. If you're talking about a game of upsets where weird things happen, I'm not sure if we're, in the down under right now, if this is like the upside down, my bad, if we're full Stranger Things mode at the moment, but this is a different game that I don't think we've seen the likes of before at this speed.
Yeah. And people talk about the differences in day 2. I think it started a little bit more stacked, but you talk about flipping things. The script might be getting flipped right here because players are going to be desperate, man. I'm just saying, 300 players, 80 people going to move on to the next stage. Otherwise, you're going right down to the reboot round. And yes, it might be another chance, but it's just harder because in the reboot round, if you're not familiar with that, there's going to be 520 players. It's everybody who made it to week 1 of the Invitational, who did not go through to any of the stages, did not make it to the grand finals, gets the opportunity to rise up. So out of 520 players, 20 will go and get their chance at the grand finals. Think of it kind of as a double elimination bracket in a sense. 2 chances at life.
At the same time, though, that reboot round is just one instance, one day, one session. It's no longer a 2 format, so whatever happens that day happens. Over here, though, for this game, this is the moment for either Shando or Ensar to pass on. 46 total points, looking to get up to 50 here off this elimination. Ensar tries to break through, gets a few tags, but gets traded. That's the counter to that SMG new box dive mechanic that we're seeing. You need to land a big shotgun shot. Yes, it's very hard, a lot harder than what we've seen before, but it's the only thing that can silence people, make them less confident. You have to just work at the mentality of these crazy players trying to get into the box.
When you talk about it being a little harder, the scale of difficulty of hitting that compared to what it takes for you to SMG dive in the box is drastically different. But it is what must be done. Sometimes the scales are flipped in a direction that you have to overcome. Don't forget, Ensar was the player who took out Mongrel earlier on in that game. And he eats the little bit of, I don't know, overconfidence he got coming out of Sweaty Sands, taking out one of the better players in the world. And goes right down to Shando, who we saw in the last game take out Stompy, but with the 17 points that he got so far today in the bottom of his screen, that only puts him around the 50-point mark overall, which is nowhere near where you need to be at the end to be in top 80.
And if you listen closely enough, really closely, you can hear Mongrel doing the kitty cat dance all the way in this other game. A little bit of revenge. Talking about what happened last game to this one as well, Direvig, who we saw just get absolutely demolished in a box fight earlier on. I think it was another SMG box dive, one and done. Will be central position in a huge metal base. And we saw Mongrel have this opportunity last game, kind of central, looking at where to get next, although this is not ultimate height. This is a good place to see exactly what can happen, but a blunder. Trying to go for a big heavy sniper play, and now you'll see that flip of confidence again. It's not Ensar, but now Direvig now, who has to basically look at how he's going to approach this fight. Piece control available from his opponent, but it's kind of even off on this fight as to who's coming out on top so far. It is Direvig's base, or Direvig's base. He's looking to see if he can land more shots.
There was such a big opportunity there for Direvig. I'm just going to call him Direvig because I can't say that. There was such a big opportunity there because Yoa actually could not jump up over the floor that was edited, that was Direvig's. And that was all his walls, so he could have moved out to the side and really punished him. But there was a moment in time where there was a big chance for Direvig, but now everything revealed, all his plays, his cards are known. He's not hiding it.
It's just so risky at this point, at this level of a base that's, you know, so fortified. You have a drum gun, heavy sniper, launch pad. Is it worth to go for these 4 points? Especially if you just did this last trade and you lost it, essentially. You had to use so much of your heals to get here. This is now a rundown again of what happened before. Hopefully he can actually dive into this box. He does, but now he's in his enemy's space. Doesn't matter when you have the drum gun. I think that's just complete security. You're never really in trouble box to box. He lands the shots. Now he is the king of the zone.
I mean, if you have the drum gun, Shio, and you have the hypothetical tracking to go with it,
okay,
of course it is worth it, man. Of course it is. Like, that is a imbalance. I mean, that's a fight that is on both sides, not necessarily the same scale of things like we just talked about with Shando and Ensar. Like, that's directly what it is. So use that to your advantage if you have it. I mean, that's the strength of it, the mythic item. So, yes, maybe. It's like, hey, you have the position, you have center zone, you have the launch pad, you have all this stuff that will last you to endgame, but if you're not doing anything with it, That's the difference. And speaking of, remember the last game from Dravig? It was actually against Caxi in that zone fight. All the way up in the north side of the map. So didn't have what he needed to actually go through in that one. It was an uncomfortable situation overall. But this time, he has the ingredients. He just needs to spend a little bit more time in the kitchen.
Sometimes, though, it gets a little bit too hot. Shando electing to move out, go towards zone. I see Fast Roki on the screen. We saw his big brain play happen off before. Lies in the live here as well, and he hasn't actually moved for a very long time. This will be one of my favorite end games, the Frenzy Farm, natural low ground, kind of classic Fortnite style where a mountain's not in the way. It's all about how you're building. Mid ground is what's really important. But at the same time, where the zone pulls on the 5th circle, the half and half we call it a lot of the times, if it doesn't go your way, it gets that much harder to rotate and start that natural game style. Right now, Scrib looking to beam in first, try to go for a little bit more pressure. And get a free elimination pickup. Doesn't really find anything just yet. No mobility in his kit. He actually does pick up shifts. 25 seconds are left to decide the fate of a lot of people who are evenly spread out at Frenzy Farm.
And yesterday's Scrib did get a win, but at the top of the leaderboard, he did not pin the score that he wanted to because 88th place for him. And only 22 points so far. He is pushing himself over the 100 mark with what he has done today. And he does get the 5th zone, so a lot of opportunity, just like we talked about with Dravig. He can have a nice game in this one if things go well, and he does have the floppers for the opportunity. But I think a lot rides on how players position around him. He did not build up. He didn't waste that time. He finds another one. Yes! Onto Skylar, who we watched earlier. And I think he's going to try to dive these materials. It might be worth, depending on how much he spends and how much Skylar actually has. I'm trying to look at the inventory before we move off. No. We get the wide. We switch over to see what else is going on in the game. Toos is here, who had that massive 10-plus Elim win in the first game. Moki as well. And here's her score, 19 points so far today. Yesterday, it was okay. Today, you know she's looking for something bigger. She's looking to get on the scales of wins and not just the mediocre performances. Not necessarily mediocre, because it was something like 17th, but she's a trooper. And yes, another one out of the sky. An Elim and possibly Harpoon? No, it's a little bit too far out of range.
Still, this is kind of where it all starts. A very good position for a base. You're talking about getting more points. You want to be up in a base watching launch patterns fly and picking them off as they do so. Right now, though, Moki pushing her lead of sorts, actually, in a very good position now. A nice decision to expand the base, move exactly where you were before on the edge of zone to a more central position, to have a say at other people, possibly the whole lobby moving overall. If you look at Artur, that's where she would have been. Just one slight elevation change and a push forward in layers. She looks so much better now. Teak and Toos looking like ants compared to where Moki is in position. And she has a launch pad as well to boot after she's done with what she needs to do here. The risk, though, for getting here, it was only held up by one floor, one stair. It gets shot down still, though. She has that backup in mobility. The Harpoon is there in case she needs those mats back. The game is very much in her hands.
And it was a quick switch off of that wood directly into the metal to make this fortified, make this good for her. So solid switch. She does have the launch pad. Yesterday her performance was 42nd, 118 points. So she's up there with 140-ish so far today. One thing to note is that her day 2 performance was what propelled her to be at this stage, because she wasn't in the top 300 after day 1 of week 1. So maybe if history is as it is, she will have a stronger performance on day 2. Everything is possible now for Moki. The potential is hers.
And now it's all about what's happening in the game. Moki looking to move forward. Just one elimination so far. The mat's running out too, because we saw how much she had to basically invest in that position before. She needs to find some type of elimination close by here in Harpoon range to try to get a say in the rest of the competition. Big shots over towards the Storm. 264 tags, but not going to have a say as to what happens next. She's in position. She knows where people are weak. Lazen is right beside her on her wall. Teak now and Artur above. Scrib controlling the whole lobby as well. The 7th zone locks in and she moves forward. Back to back though. It will be Lazen that plays the trap and pops her, unfortunately. Health pool down to 0. He's on the back end now. Has to use a few floppers to get straight back to action. Around all his bills, no one there. It'll be Kiko all the way up top, controlling the whole lobby, but Scrib is there right beside him as well. And now we look towards the bottom side. Savage is here. Mexi on the same layer as him. He's just getting his entire loadout structured, and it's the drum gun, flopper, RPG pump combination. I'm getting a few DreamHack vibes with this position he's in right now. Could it be a repeat of an insane game that takes out big names all the way at the bottom of this crop field? He's looking to harvest, has the trap set up with these floor edits, doesn't actually find them for now. Moves forward first. He's looking for the first shot to pounce on eliminations.
Yes! He gets it. The RPG with the drum gun. Usually it's the shotgun that follows up, but with that in his hands, he's going to make it really, really work. And with 3 eliminations so far for Mr. Savage, even looking back now as his own bounces in this direction, almost finds a player in his box. Yes, he does! The wall too, but he gets away. A mouse escapes right through the little hole that he's made. Mr. Savage now, though, 9 players remaining total in this. He reloads the RPG, makes sure everything is ready for him to pounce on the next. We'll see if that actually shows itself, and yes, Trulex down and out.
A general on a battlefield, Mr. Savage is doing things in such cool fashion, keeping things so methodical, time after time, moving from box to box, but knowing all his options, and he has so many. He can lead with the drum gun, hit with those pump shots, and has the RPG as well in case things get hairy. He wants to get explosive. Still though, choosing to stay on low, and that's because that's where he can just collect the bones of every single person dropping down in quick desperation. It's Savage who you're going to be answering to with that drum gun RPG combination, still spraying through. Builds will not save you. Whoa, a harpoon dodge, making me dodge in real life. That was so close to his head. 5 eliminations now. Box to box, lands the next shot. A pickaxe is what he'll have to use because he's running out of steam, but still delivering damage. A grappler now in his toolkit, and oh my god, a 160 pump. Mago goes down. A final 1v1 situation here for Mr. Savage. Has the launch pad, every option on the board. He's going to choose the coolest, the cleanest one. Looking for possible floppers. No. Not possible. It's Airwalks who gets him down from the sky, but you can't discredit what that man just did. The absolute clinic he put on low ground. Mr. Savage never left.
And it's Airwalks who does overtake in the final moments, but if you actually add up the scores, it was Mr. Savage who came out on top of that game with the amount of points that he just got with the 7 elims plus the 2nd place. That's exactly what you want to see for Mr. Savage. He placed 14th day 1. And so far in the Invitational, Zeke, he has not had that top 5 performance that you really want to see going into the Grand Finals, because at the end of the day, he did win the most prestigious solo tournament ever since the World Cup, essentially. And I think he's on everybody's radar for favorites once he gets there.
That's right, man. He's making that case. He's like, look, guys, I know it's been a little weird, but it's time for me to stand above the rest yet again. Gentlemen, let's take a look at the standings, because that will tell us who is leading the pack. Is it still Noah? It is not. It is Lecce, who was in 2nd place, who is now pushed into 1st. And look who's right behind him now. Benji Fishy. Both are trying to take it away from Noah. Wolfie's there in 5th. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about.
Zeke, yes there is, man. Benji Fishy overtakes now into 2nd place. He was not in the top 5 yesterday. And don't forget, we just saw Mr. Savage have his game, but clearly Benji Fishy is also doing the same. And man, I just have to wonder if this is going to be the return of the famous duo Benji Fishy and Mr. Savage, because they're here today.
Hey, we're talking about duos. You cannot forget about Lecce, Wolfies. These guys are also 1st and 4th at the moment. We're talking about classics as well. Lecce, no wins. I'm talking about high eliminations, big box diving moments. This man is now in 1st place and kind of ahead of the competition. Almost 20 points in total. We'll go over to the next page too. So many more names. Mongrel trailing right behind 15th place, 2 wins. Things are looking closer than ever.
And I think that this 2-day format is really showing us what intense storylines can unfold for us in competitive Fortnite, because at the top, man, it's going to be tight all the way through. And even these guys have potential to get right back up there. It's only a 50-point gap, Zeke.
Oh my gosh. Taking a look at the next set of standings, down all the way in 30th, 172 points. More names. Castry right there. The actual real Kiriachi left eye. Putrick there, aka mobile player for the rest of his life. Chapik 72. This is a close top 30, gentlemen. It is still anyone's game. 10 games is so much more. Let's look out to 80th place right now. 133 points. Now, this is kind of what we estimated, Bala. Like, we kind of had a good idea coming out yesterday.
Yeah, and I think actually, Zeke, it might be slightly ahead of pace what everybody expected on day 2, because I think people are just playing more aggressive, which means that the best of the best are going to have to have better and bigger games to expand the lead, because at the end of the day, what I was projecting was around 183 points, 185, maybe up to 190 if it continues like this.
I mean, the one thing, though, you talk about pace, right? There's multiple people at this pace right now. The tiebreaker is going to be the biggest thing. If you're talking about just 1 or 2 points up moving in the leaderboard for the competition, you are neck and neck with so many others. Right now at 80th, I believe it's a 133-point tie. And that's really important, because that means if you're winning games, and there are people who do win and end up at 80th, it'll be the one ticket to your way for those grand finals.
Yeah, and I think it's players like Scrib, who won their game yesterday, who are not all the way up in that top 80, who are going to come ahead in that tiebreaker. So that's the first one, the Victory Royale, Zeke.
That's right, gentlemen. I don't want to keep you guys waiting any longer. It is time to get into the next game of EU. Let's go, Bala. Let's go, Shy.
And this is where the hype starts to just get all the way to maximum levels. It's Wolfies who we're tuning in with. 4th place so far, 62 points just for today. This is now, I would honestly say, the end of EU, but we're only really kind of halfway through it at the moment. Looking to lock things out. It just feels like things are in that grand finale stage. Just look at who's here right now. It's Skype. It's multiple people, 5 in total at the agency. If you thought duels was hard, Wolfies, this is going to be an even bigger challenge.
And I was just going to shed some light on duos, because at the start of it, Wolfies and Letshi fought against Skype and Vato so many times. Wolfie starts things off strong on the Star-Lord, but he is going to be seeing stars in the lobby as he waits. Going back to duos, though, Wolfies and Letshi fought against Skype and Vato early on in the warm-ups. They actually had a epic engagement, a 3-way one between Kavato and Tus. Eventually, they pushed away Skype and Vato, and Skype and Vato were nowhere to be found. One of the best duos in the world, ostensibly. Not there in duos. We didn't see them in the grand finals. We didn't see them in any of the Sunday finals almost, because of Wolfies. So if this goes to a head, if they do engage, that is just poetic.
When you have the FNCS go on for so long, when you see the people dropping at the same spot over and over, these stories will naturally develop. And right now, Wolfies' aim looking completely unnatural. His movement as well, my lord. I'm not sure if these henchmen are turning into players, but he's walking through them like it's no problem. Still, a lot more challenges available. And ahead, no challenge.
There it is.
Skype, though, for Wolfies, taken out straight up, history almost repeating itself.
There it is. Wolfies against Skype, and Wolfies is the champion of this engagement right here. And we might be seeing, possibly now, as we saw the overall standings, Wolfies was in 4th place, I believe. We might be seeing him start to push his way all the way up to 1st, overtake Letshi, his former duo partner, overtake Benji at the top. And yes, he is going to collect the drum gun before then hunting and before getting towards his final prey. Although there is somebody lurking in the water right now, possibly going to try to third party as the vault gets open, but I don't think it's going to really matter, because Wolfie's right now already 3 eliminations and he's at max HP. To make anything easy, it's Aimson's. He was trying actually to act like a henchman there, Shio, but it did not work. Not even close.
Man, people looking like they're just trying to do the tutorial for Fortnite right now. People trying to get every strategy possible, but it's not going to work when Wolfies is moving in and just looking straight for high elimination counts and his vault to open up. Remember, the big games that we see from him, they don't actually start off this explosive. Right? Like, they're usually these end game pop-offs. You were saying that's kind of where right now he's having a little bit of issues in that sense. But early game 100% is where he's just holding things strong. He still knows that Minnie's around as well, and Minnie will do his best. I think the third impression we're going to see of a henchman so far, the Wolfies, just like he takes them out at agency every day, it'll be soft work for him if he even chooses to go for the vault. I can't imagine not, right? I mean, everyone that ends up dropping Mythic POIs, they have to pick up those big shields, the free launch pad. It's just about how he's going to move in and get in. These henchmen will give away his location at every single rotation. It'll be that final 50-50 for him.
If you're wondering why he's running around like a madman right now, he's actually trying to clear out the space. Trying to make sure that there's nobody lurking, and there is somebody right underneath these stairs right here. Found himself a pretty unique position, but Wolfies is clearing everything out. Even breaks that wall down, but still. He's doing this before the vault opens. He's right on the other side. I think he heard them. Yes, the crouch. It's not completely silent. Yes, it's a little bit more. But no, he finds him. He knows where he is. An engagement, and he melts him. Oh my goodness, Wolfies. That is ridiculous, and now it is free. Now the agency is open, although I see one more arrow. Yes, it's Luca coming in. This might be another collection of a free elim for Wolfies as he finally gets to that vault.
An ultimate game of cat and mouse. Wolfies is the one to have that big cheddar after it all ends, both in points and loot. Now we'll see X8 on the other side of things, kind of calm. Wolfies' fate left mysterious, but I guarantee we'll see him in a box and endgame and know exactly what ended up happening at the agency.
So, walk with me for a second as I take you down storytelling lane, because I was looking yesterday for the, I don't know, origins of Noah Riley, the player in second place right now, the player who was in first after day one. And looking all the way back, I didn't really see too many results for him besides maybe a first place in a Trios Cash Cup, a very difficult Trios Cash Cup, way earlier on, back in Season X. But then, as time goes through, you see him not really do too much in competitive until he gets picked up by X8, the player we're watching right now, as a duo partner throughout the season last. And so now we're seeing X8 possibly riding on the momentum of his duo partner, his friend from last season, as he's at 47 points right now, and we didn't really see much out of X8 in the last couple of seasons. Maybe that is moving him, and yes, it is! There it is, 2 eliminations for X8. And a beautiful one at that. That piece control was marvelous on the backside of that, not letting his player escape at all, but now he's getting a little bit too high, in my opinion. This is a little wild. Yes, he does get knocked out, but that's quick. I think that's actually good to keep this level down.
And also to set the pace of exactly what this player wants to do. Knowing how someone plays low ground, if they're hyper aggressive, they want to go for your builds, just shows you the possible shots they can take. And once again, ramping over. Although he does get to a disadvantageous spot, it's builds that he owns previously, he dives back into. Now going all the way down, it's Stompy, so a big person to face. Apocalypto's here as well to start things and make them even more heated. Meanwhile, X8 just tries to wait things out. Definitely maybe a little bit too much in over his head.
I think Stompy got angry. He saw Grotto owner X8 in the feed. And Stompy was like, no, 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 you know that's me, my friend. You know that's me. As it was Stompy and Aqua, completely uncontested through pretty much every single weekend of Grotto after the start of it, because there was no chance for everybody. And they really put it to work because they placed very, very well. And I think it's, don't take my word for this, but I think Apocalypto is a mobile player playing in this weekend's FNCS Invitational as a solo. I believe it's possible. I know there's a mobile player somewhat with a similar name, as now it's actually Stompy versus him as X8 dives down in the river and tries to make his way out. And I think he did successfully disengage, but right into another foe.
I mean, if he is on mobile, there's 2 ways this fight could go. Or 3, actually. Stompy could take out Apocalypto. Apocalypto could get a big pump, a big tack shot onto Stompy. Or a phone call could come through. And that fight could end before it even starts. So, we'll see hopefully if these guys can survive to the point where service isn't too good enough for Apocalypto to receive a call. But Stompy, once again, is all the way high up. We saw him use a lot of builds before with X8, so he might not have enough to fight out in this one. Still holding out his lead in the fight in terms of position. HP, though, being traded out, no shields. His opponent dropping down. Notice how every single box, about 5 mats, is exactly what Apocalypto is using. Meanwhile, Stompy is just trailing behind 1 pyramid per. A huge investment here. Now the mat situation possibly even out. No control over what's happening in the middle, but no, the third party. It'll be Slovey, who shoots him from long distances. Now, the issue for that for Apocalypto is he doesn't get the siphon off of this, so his clock is ticking right now, only about 10 HP left. We'll tune into another fight, not in the storm, but right beside it. It's Yanis who gets a big pickup, taking out Ken. And now his game starts off. Frenzy Farm is where we ended the last game, but where his journey begins for this one.
If you don't know what happened in that last fight, Apocalypto did go down to zone. And I'm going to guess the player that came in at the same time did also, or will fall shortly, as Zone had quite a little bit way to go still. Potential to get in. He might have a launch pad, he might have heals, so we're not really too worried about it, but that's a rough end for Stompy, who, I mean, just looking at the leaderboards, man, Stompy used to be the guy. He literally used to be the guy in solos every single weekend winning. But so far in this Invitational, it hasn't been that way. He's been middling in week 1, and today and yesterday, just outside that top 80. We might have to see Stompy pull out something miraculous in the reboot round as we watch Kezix in a big fight against Slicks, who I think Slicks was performing very well, and I think Kezix too. We watched a number of mid-game fights with him yesterday. But mid-game fights don't drag you to the top 80. You gotta have something else in the tank.
It's a combination of everything, because now with this 2-day format, it's not even about having, you know, everything rather than just mid-game fights. It's about doing it over and over again over 2 days. And man, we're looking at people who have had effects on multiple games we've watched over there at Salty Springs. Wolfie, we have Skylar who won that last game, and then we have Freemock as well, who delved down, got one of the last shots in so many different zones. This competition, every single game, no matter what it's in, who's in it, is just stacked straight to the walls. It'll be Dako, who we saw get taken out before. Jachu, who got second place almost in a game before as well. Just trying to survive.
Toos in this too. A number of previous game victory royales or victory royales, however you want to say it. And one thing that's definitely going through here in these games is that they might look less difficult as Dako starts things off with the classic bush strat. I don't think there's much to comment on. There's some things that make these look a little easier, but at the same time, they're just more difficult, because as these games get less and less stacked, as people get more and more desperate, there's a lot more to deal with, a lot more variables that you have to keep track of, such as things like this, Dako playing in the bush, such as people going to dive on you because they need not just good placement games. They don't just need wins. They need eliminations with them too. They need the power weapons to be able to convert on them. Things get risky. Mr. Savage, who we just saw get that second place in the last game against Airwax, is in this one too. So now we're thinking, okay, Wolfie's in this. I'm going to guess Airwax is in this game too, because it was first and second, right? So the queue times, unless Mr. Savage was like the last person for whatever reason to fill this game, I'd highly doubt that. He's probably in this one too. So we have Wolfies, we have Mr. Savage, we have Airwax, we have Toos, we have Freemock. I mean, the list goes on, man. Jachu in this one too. Probably players who are at the top of day 2 performances so far.
There's no free fight, basically, available at any box. There's no free layer where the game might seem easier. Even trying to delve down to ultimate low ground, you basically get into the dungeon of Mr. Savage. And no one literally can escape. We saw it last game, and now Item will be box to box with him, or just close by, base to base. This zone, though, will be, I think, the most interesting one we've seen today thus far. Agency Rivers in tandem with a big mountain and some natural hilly low ground.
I'm trying to spot Wolfies because I saw him in Salty Spring. And yes, Airwax is in the game with 100 points, mind you, so he's up there. Oh my goodness, the player gets right next to his box. I was scared for a second. I was trying to spot Wolfies because he was at the agency. He got those, 6 elims to start things off. And then I saw him in the mid-game somewhere in Salty Spring, so maybe moving a little bit more aggressively, but also he wasn't really positioned to fight. But now he has to move back in this third zone. And center is right on that mountain range, so we could have that involved. We could have an agency endgame, which is always interesting. And by the way, Airwax was outside of the range. Nikov already missed qualification. His former teammate and the people that, I mean, you think Airwax, you instantly think Nikov. Nikov did not make it to this stage, so Airwalks is holding the banner for both of them. And it was looking rough on day one. 55 points, 208th place. He's up there now, though. 155-ish is what he's going to be at with the 100 points that he has so far. Potential for us to see Airwalks back in his prime in the solo mode.
There's a bunch of people who were popping off at some point or high up on the leaderboards. I saw Astro SMZ back there, who both in trios as well as duos in some points was very good at surviving and placing all the way consistently up high, but not always hitting that super top spot. He's trying to find a name for himself too. The map now kind of divided because the zone is so central. We're not going to see that much of a heavy congestion on either side, north, south, east, or west. It'll be a nice even spreading, and you'll get bases like these that can just delve into box fights very fast. Both Yora and Mitch, the tension, if one player just feels like they're getting a little bit confident, if the other player shows a sign of weakness, they can delve out into a big base or a lot of noise that other people can just react off of. Still, this will be the hardest zone to rotate into. There's going to be so many bases all the way around from fourth or from third to fourth to zone. And right now, what I was saying earlier, this box fight already starting to develop. Mitch does have the shields to upkeep the pressure. And right now, it'll be Yora who's actually taking a lot of the pressure from third parties. Mitch finally getting into the box, letting the server weaken down his enemy first, and then just picking up the spoils. Easy peasy, no questions asked.
He takes the linear to the face. The SMG. A little bit of his own threats to basically everybody else in the lobby. Skylar is the player with the grappler. And funnily enough, I was going to say Aerox is going to follow him up, but there's really nothing to follow for Skylar. There's no old builds, but he is going to try to fight for a very, very good position. Use this reverse stairs to back away on that wall as he crosses it, but also connects to that. So makes it pretty good for him. He's actually keeping this tree up for the time. Or that could possibly already be gone. He's actually going to look back at the player he was just passing. And I think now the wall, he was going to try to chop that down, but no, it's going to end up going against him. And now he's got flesh wounds in for Airwax, and he even gets the wall. Can he get the edit back? I think he's even on that side of the wall. He edits in. Finally, he's getting close, but not yet. Not all the way there. Where is he? There. Oh, wait. It wasn't even a shotgun shot. I thought it just didn't show the audio, but no, he fell to his death. Tried to edit out, but I think he ran out of materials there, Shia.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have that overinvestment. The fight goes on too long. The hunter can't actually stop his prey from getting away. Still, though, gets a slight reward. The points are there, but now a little bit lower on what he started on overall. Mats 4ZR will be box to box with who I was talking about earlier, Astro SMZ. He'll have a amazing loadout to play with. One that he can translate if he picks up an elimination to floppers for the end game as well. We've seen how good they are for the agency. Right now looking to take walls once again, a pattern we saw last game as well, failing to for the first time. Trying to get as aggressive as possible, but what a weird angle to take this fight in. Completely down below, actually baiting out the edits of Astro. He goes down. Not weird at all, just really smart, because if I didn't see it coming, the player definitely can't either.
Shai, it could be weird and smart at the same time, because that was one of the most unusual fights I've ever seen, a box fight vertically like that. And I'm always impressed when people go for reaches like that. I mean, the heavy snipe from down below, 3 layers up, was already something to grab the wall and then try to edit that. But then, to actually control the space below him, control that wall, have it pre-edited for the room, because as he got sprayed, the first reaction for you is to go down back into your old base. That wall is no longer yours, man. It was gone since the beginning of that. You just forgot. So Astro getting outplayed by another very strong player in 4ZR. Probably one of the better of the French-speaking players. I mean, there's so many of them. The French community just so solid. You can name Airwax, Nikov, 4ZR, Kinstar, I mean, Andalex, Nate. The list goes on.
The one thing I'm seeing develop right now in these mid-game fights is the use of actually baiting out the third party. to do a lot of the damage for you and then you cleaning up. We saw 4-0 do it there. He just used that third-party presence as a distraction for Astro to forget about the ball, as Bala mentioned. And now right here, Crack also going down, trying to just run away from a fight that was happening before. It'll be Flame, someone completely different who wasn't there, picking things up. That third-party presence, the shots coming in from the rest of the server are just so hard to both get away from, but then keep you focused on that fight once again. And we know how good Flame can be at multitasking. Even him himself finds issues once he gets targeted by the entire lobby. Hard find now. Will look to push this, or to take the torch basically for the rest of this game.
No long range though. He has the heavy sniper. The SMG's not going to get it done at that range. Mind you, this is Astro SMG's partner, so a duo partner from FNCS. There's no partners in solos, as much as people might sometimes think that. Hard find looking forward though. SMG in hand, heavy snipe as well. He is a controller player, and he does get involved in close range fights a lot. And with the heavy snipe and SMG, that's the perfect combination, but that pump is not really going to do much, especially as a green one. In endgame, that's probably one of the weakest weapons that I could possibly imagine holding. And no launch pad for him too, so he hears everybody going by right now, and he's left in the dust.
Ooh, and he's got two different options. He can either follow through on the trails of everyone else, or because he's just seen so many people flying over, it's free reign to walk, basically, to the closest launch pad he can get. No one's looking at him right now. Everyone's just focused on making their bases, and because of that, he can do what you said he would. Get straight into a box, pick up big loot, and a huge heal in the top as well. That's two people that went down. A free launch pad, a huge buff up to his entire inventory. Still no AR, though. He's looking to box dive over and over again.
But don't forget, there's big players in this one. Wolfie's still in the game. Mr. Savage somewhere, probably too. I mean, we remember the list that we had at the start of this. Trulex in here. Mr. Savage still up. Snappy 2. 4ZR, we just saw him get the elimination. Fremont as well. And I think the grappler players still, from the beginning of what we saw, might be in this too. And where's Airwax? That's my question. Is he actually on height?
I mean, him and a lot of other people might be seeing a lot of tears because of the waterworks happening down below at low ground. These people are going to have to basically fall past a no man's land. Right now, no one wants to be in Hard Find's box, who gets it really easy over and over again, picking up people who are just trying to rotate. Is it perfect positioning? Is it just really good timing? I'm not sure, but it looks good regardless. He's still moving on. One of the best mid-ground positions in zone. The big threats for him. There's Airwalks right above and Trulex down below. I was going to say threats, non-existent right now. He gets taken out. Behind him, though, that low-ground warrior, Savage, now looks to just basically go back to his throne. Pink UK in front of it, the person he has to basically usurp, but Hardfind is the main person that we're focusing on. Mid-ground right now, Airwalks right above him. Who is he going to go for next? Who is the next target?
We're wondering right now because so much room for Hardfind to work with. So much potential now with the legendary pump. Snappy takes out Fremont, and there he goes. Hardfind on the Pinkuk, and that's hard times. He's going to take you down and laugh when you cry because this man is on a tear. Airwax goes down to Kazix, another one. Wolfies, a 7th place game for him again, and another one for him. Zocco goes right out. Now Snappy's still up in this game. Flopper player for Hardfind now. So many people up on high ground. You got to be careful. The beams are possible. It's legendary. Snappy on mid ground. Hardfind underneath, and then Kazix down on low. Snappy he's out. The game is over for him. And now a 1 versus 1. The pump. Yes, Hardfind does it again onto Kazix. The SMG comes in huge for him in the final moments.
This man just strolled his way straight to a win. Absolutely effortless. From the box that we saw him in, all the way to the final moment in the 1v1, I don't think he broke a single sweat. That was one of the easiest games I've seen from Hardfind. He just makes it look so good.
That was ridiculous. Zeke, I cannot understate the amounts of things that Hardfind did in that end game. No, it wasn't Mr. Savage with the 8 elims or whatever it was in the last game, but it was still fantastic because remember, from the start of that, he was kind of in a weird position. He didn't have the launch pad. He had the heavy sniper, he had the SMG, but he wasn't quite finding what he needed. Eventually he did though, and that's what happens when he gets those opportunities.
And guys, you got to talk me through like how that all unfolded, because like what do you have to be focused on and like the numbers in your mind? It's basically like that meme where you're seeing all the numbers, the equations in your head, and you're like, all this has to line up. Like what's going through these players' minds?
Okay, so for Hard Find specifically in that game, they're not numbers, they're basically players. He's playing basically what other people are doing. He's playing based off of what other people are doing first. So if you move first, he'll follow, see exactly, hey, are you paying attention to your back? Is your box safe? If not, you're in there. And it's not like, a structured fight. It's an easy one that he just takes.
And I think that's key. It's players that are going around in his mind, but it's also the battlefield. As the zone moves, he's literally visualizing all the different layers and seeing what he can get from it. Zeke, that is what it takes to become a very strong endgame Fortnite player.
That's right, guys. Well, for now, we do have to go to a break. When we return, we'll have another set of casters and more games from EU. So stay tuned, Fortnite fam. We'll see you after this break. What is going on, Fortnite fam? We are back. This time we've got Monster D-Face, we got Sundown, and we are here for the last few set of games here out of EU before finding out who will be the top 80 that are pushing through to Grand Finals. Gentlemen, we've seen some crazy games. We've seen standings. No one is safe up there. I mean, I don't even know how else I could better set this up. These last two games are going to change everything, Monster.
I mean, we saw the OCE region players like Volks pick up that consistency, go back to back. We're seeing Benji do it again this week. He did it last week. This kind of this rising star, people finding the formula to really bring out the full out equation. So I'm excited. I want to continue to see how it plays out. This is a big week. There's still money on the line too. So, you know, overall, it's a crazy weekend. It's still good competition.
I look forward to seeing how the things go. All the games to be played. I did, without spoiling anything, I got word this next game is going to be spicy. Sundown, I want to get some of your insight. I want to lean on you a little bit. What do you think, man? You've seen the standing shift. You've had time to kind of talk in the green room there. I mean, what do you think we can expect? Do you think we're going to see someone crazily come out of outside of 80? Do you think we're going to see people hold on? Give me your thoughts.
I mean, generally we've seen kind of now the top fives in each one of these regions as we start getting in the game now have really been able to separate themselves from everyone else and are starting to be a little more consistent. And Benji is one of those players, and we're really starting to see how, despite everyone saying solos is completely different, I would say, yes, in terms of the top 100, we're seeing kind of a different list, but in terms of the top 5 in each one of the regions, there's usually 1 or 2 players who you can kind of hang your hat on for performing well, and that's really maintaining to be true.
Yeah, and I mean, you can take a look right there, guys. Here's the way that the placements and the points kind of all break out. It's 4 points per elimination. There's the breakdown. That gap between second place and first place is kind of substantial. You'll see that the victory rides heavy in this format and the way things kind of play out. But hey, you get placement as far as 75th. Here's Benji Fishy, the king of Retail Row. And more importantly, Sundown, we're seeing Moki find success even in a landing spot like Benji. And we might just see an engagement right now between the two.
Yeah, and she's closing in over on the side. Needs to be careful, though, because Benji has already consumed his shields, whereas she's sitting on a 50 pot. Benji pushes through right away, and that's the difference maker right there. No additional HP. The shields on Benji being enough, and he's going to capitalize on that, sending Moki back right away, as we also see Light and Pink UK picking up elims on 2 other high-level contenders. So a little bit of interesting exchanges going on, some aggressiveness coming out of Europe, but a nice trap set up for Benji. You saw him on the other side of the door, putting the cone down to immediately force Moki forward into his shot, and he was the one who's taking advantage there, as Kaizen now taking some shots from the side, but Avesta also moving down on the flank.
Definitely is. Here's Kaizen now, who's kind of in the Misty Meadows. We saw that one game where Misty had upwards of nearly 10 players. Now still heavily contested, though. Kaizen has 2 more threats and another off to the lodges. Back behind him, Southern. Let's see, though. These guys are making a lot of sounds, obviously, on their farm. You can hear the shots going down. He wants a piece of the action. He's going to come from the outside. It's going to be a 79 shot. That player had full shield. He jumps into the box. The bone take. And the 50-50 is Void who falls down. It's Avesta. And that's going to be the elim for him. He comes up, though. He gets minis, more than enough to kind of bounce back here. That blue tactical shotgun, great for the early game.
Yeah, I mean, the rare tactical shotgun, it has great rate of fire, decent spread going in there. I mean, up until you get into kind of like the legendary and the epic, you're not going to find a better weapon early on. And then you pair it with the blue SMG as well, which gives you such great wall penetration factor, and you're able to kind of get on top of people. Right now, Kaizen, though, looking to try and find this other player right now.
Hunting already found his stride here this game. A little upgrade, too, on the SMG right there. A little cone, nicely done, and now trying to step aside. These are not his walls, and because of that, the slowdown. So Kaizen finds another elimination of Misty Meadows. The player that was off in the lodge is going to just back off. He wants none of the action here, trying to make it later into the rounds here. We're off to the other side now. Looks like we're on the bridge, possibly outside of the farms or Retail Row. Oh, definitely looks like the farms here. It's Jamie who's on defense, holding wall. Burst rifle, you know, it's an upgraded burst as well. Jamie's got a fair amount of points. Monster.
He doesn't have a shotgun, so it's like, this is kind of an awkward situation where he doesn't want him to close distance, but he also does because he has to jump on top of him with the blue SMG. He's kind of trying to bait this player to go into his box because otherwise there's not really going to be a way to exchange. And you can see him already looking at the river and considering maybe seeing if he can drop down and disengage.
Yeah, definitely. And something to note about Jamie, as he's on defense right now, he needs this here. He's having a much better day 2 than he did at day 1. He's already maxed out as far as his points go in comparison to the first day. Capitalizing on his second win here, showing that the 2-day formats are best for consistency and for the players here. This wall is very weak, though. He's going to wait for that opportunity. He steps right out and meets them and greets them with the SMG right there. Well played to Jamie. And this is what I mean by players finding their strides on different days. Very well kind of situated for him, Sundown.
He was able to get a huge upgrade there, going all the way to the Epic Heavy Sniper and the Epic Burst. And as we switch on over, we have Nuji Duki in a fight over here. Does have the Epic Tactical Shotgun, so going to be able to put out some relatively painful shots, but he is sitting only at 160 effective HP and starting to get kind of down there on builds. He's stuck mainly on wood with only kind of the 5-brick heavy builds, and you can see him already desperately trying to retreat back through the house, kind of change up this fight a little bit. He's saying, nah, I don't like that fight out there. You can come to me. I know where I'm strong. And he sees that cone placed down, so should have a little bit of an advantage right here, at least in terms of information, but going to give that up in favor of just floor coning that off, saying, no, I don't want this fight. If you're going to come in here, I'm going to make sure I own all of these pieces. Good little rip flip, but honestly, I'm not really sure if he really wants to take this fight. They are in the safe zone, so they kind of want to establish control over this, but in reality, I think the smarter play is to just back out of this.
Yeah, definitely does have some options, as now he's getting pressured back. A clever angle from the opponent, taking the kind of wall right here. He is going to grab this time, though, so still maintaining control of his surroundings, opening up the window opportunity angle right there, and now he's going to jump down. Although Dookie does have a mega shotgun, a power shotgun, he's not necessarily looking to put it to use right now. Still being very timid, very passive on the playstyle. Getting caught off guard now. He's on the back foot again here. Managing to pop a shot. This is not looking good. Sundown, but it doesn't matter. The 149, the bailout, and that's what I meant by the power shotgun. The damage and the upgraded variance is so good. Can bail you out of any situation, and Dookie finds himself there. What looked like otherwise would have been a loss for him. He probably would have gotten taken out.
And he desperately needed that, only scoring 58 points on day 1. And one thing to note there is, like, as soon as you hear the bandage cannon come out, you know he didn't pop any shields. You would have heard him. He'd been retreating the whole time. You have to assume you're going, but he almost overextended a little too much. We talk about right-hand advantage. In a third-person shooter, based off of which side your camera is on, you get a little bit more of a peek beforehand. That happens on your right-hand side in Fortnite. And you saw him just as soon as the player rounded the corner, he was completely in the tactical shot spray. Like, you're not going to miss that. All of the bullets hitting in the big 144 chunk. Take him out there. As now we're back on board here with Supremacy's Kaizen, getting a 38 headshot there. Again, that rare attack. We talked about how strong it can be, particularly being able to replace walls and get to 51. Does his players on absolutely nothing. And Finest Tamir goes down, but Kaizen takes a nice little headshot for his trouble dropping down and doesn't have any white heals, so unless he can get these minis off, even then, going to be kind of at a disadvantage, but builds right up above Stormy right, and they're going to go to the sky here, Monster.
Oh, the predictable edit, though. Kaizen gets met with another shotgun shot now, and all of a sudden, he is in a very tight situation here. The low HP, the no more heals either. It's Stormy right who's trying to come up, trying to inch his way up to height here. Kaizen was just outside the bubble. He was just off track for making 80th yesterday, and I mean, today is looking not any better. He needs to really step it up, hence the fights. These are so important for him. He is going to find it. The 4th elimination for him this game alone here, seeming to be the big game that's kind of swinging. Has he found his stride, or is it too late, is the question for Kaizen.
And he desperately needed that. He needed the shields, he needed the utility, he needed the time and the space in the builds, but he got it where, honestly, in the last moment, being a little aggressive, and you can tell he is trying to push a little bit. There is a sense of desperation. We're getting towards the end. There's 15 minutes left in the queue timers, and particularly with so few players left in the number of games people run through quickly, those queue time for this game long. So basically, you need to queue up like now, or maybe like I've seen some 10, 11 minute queues. So players need to be getting in. As you see the minigun just barely winning that trade, and Jamie going to be sent back to lobby as we're closing in on the top 50 players left here. But this is the back half of Europe, and everyone knows kind of what that bar is for. And if you're not safely inside of it, you're going to be pressing a little bit. You're going to be trying to see, who can I catch up? Can I turn this into an elimination?
That is right. Talking about eliminations and trying to turn things around. Here's Benji Fishy, someone who is trying to continue to maintain the momentum that he's coming off of just in general for the solo track. You can see points are being rewarded for players just breaking over that 50 kind of threshold in this format. He's made a far trek through Lazy Lake, through players that in this lobby is probably like Let She, who lands over at Lazy Lake, and other big names. These kind of games have been so stacked in the EU division. You can see Marcus kind of planted up there, light down below. All players who are still very much on track. Talking about players on track, it's Wolfies. Wolfies is on track for a first place as well. We get to see the other perspective here from a player who's on defense. Let's see what it's like to go against a player like Wolfies. Wolfies already backed up, though, giving respect to Lazary, who we know has that minigun. Just came off of his elim. He's kind of situated right now. Let's catch a couple shots here on Wolfies. We'll see if Wolfies holds a grudge. Wolfies is the type of player. He has that player tendency. If you really want it, he'll give it to you. He doesn't mind, especially when he knows he's in the lead as far as overall points going. Oh boy, he has control of the drum gun. He has that mythic weapon. After he has more of a reason to take the fight now. This could be a big come up. There's shots coming in from both sides, and ooh, Lazary's now going to get shot in behind as well. So things are suddenly even. They both pause to heal up now. Wolfie's on the back foot though, Sundown.
You don't want to end up, I mean, it's okay to be on the back foot with the drum gun. It's definitely better going forward. However, the minigun matching the rate of fire and the fact that he's lower HP, he gets one solid burst onto him. That's going to be it. And Wolfies tries to make the drum gun go burr, but instead gets taken out. The tack shot, double tack spray coming through right away. And that's what we talk about, kind of the two things that can effectively end a drum gun coming in is either that immediate one pump or two really hard-hitting tack shots to kind of back it off. And even then, that's probably a 50-50, if not 60-40 fight to the drum gun most of the time. However, with the health disadvantage going through, it's going to make the drum gun that much less effective because the goal is just try and burn through your opponent's HP bar and trade the fact that you're going to get hit, but you're going to eliminate them faster than they'll be able to trade out the 200 onto you. Wolfies didn't go in that fight with 200, and Luxury was able to just completely take him down there, as now we flip on over to become Legends Anas. You also see mobile player Puttrick hanging out on the side. Anas with the heavy sniper trying to line up a beat here. This player trying to be sneaky, but
no.
That feels so bad. You think, oh, I'm in a great spot. There's no way, but you're never quite safe in Fortnite. Even then, 45 players left going to Zone 3. This is what we consider a quote-unquote sparse game at the competitive level. But when you're on the edge of zone, you have to assume somebody else is there. You can't just be walking up and hiding up against a rock. Like, somebody will take advantage of it, and Anas going to be able to do that no problem, as we're just above Slurpy Swamps over by that dam there. And Anas continuing to try and put this heavy sniper to work. It was tampered with a little bit by those ghost agents. However, still going to one-shot walls and one-shot headshots. The 137, the body ain't bad either, as Mongrel goes down there. A great shot from Anas.
Big shot. Anas coming off of a hot streak from yesterday. I mean, he finished 36th place for his first day. It's not bad at all. Or I mean, from his first week, excuse me, as far as overall performance. So, picking things up, continuing the push here. The second day is kind of crazy. Mongrel put down. Here's Ping UK, now kind of hiding out on the beachfront. You remember, Benji was situated up on the mountain just above this. That means Ping is sitting alongside players like Light. You see Tohaj, Mr. Savage, Flame, Kaizen. We know Marcus has height over all of this as well, kind of looking down on the playing field here.
And Robob's just above them as well, another player from Train H. We talk about it, and these are a bunch of European players we've seen before, and a couple of new guys desperately trying to kind of claw up here, but all of them seem to generally be falling mostly short. There's a reason this old guard has been here so long. They're all so incredibly talented in these environments, whether it's being able to aggressively play for eliminations against some of the best in the world, or play kind of in these stacked endgames. They have the capability of doing both, but Mr. Savage is in a really awkward spot here where if the lobby decides to kind of choose him, there's not a whole lot he's going to be able to do about it. There's about 6 people who are looking directly at him.
100%. I mean, the RPG is the one that'll decide that too. Just enough rockets come in and all of a sudden the focus comes into you. I have a feeling though Mr. Savage is looking to make a play of his own as he's kind of canvassing the playing field, trying to figure out probably if there's anyone that can otherwise get into this fight, because it seems like between him and Kaizen, he's got something personal going on. He's not losing focus on this player right now. Probably waiting till he opens up the box to rotate or something like that to try to follow on in. Notice he also blacked off his behind, right? So he's not too worried about any other factors, just the one in front of him. Here's Benji, Fishy's perspective. These are the players we want to see, players that are obviously dominating, the players that, at this point, I think it's safe to say we'll see in the grand finals because of their day 1 into day 2 track performances already. So this is going to be it's already shaping out to be a great competition leading into the grand finals.
And you can see we do get that 4th zone revealed now. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner, a number of players are going to have to make at least a short rotation to get in. Luckily, so far, most of it is overland. However, we do have a lot of that lake in play for the moving zones, which could end up being a factor, causing people to try and preserve as many builds as possible, knowing that if they do have to go out over that lake, things will get awkward very, very, very quickly. You can see here now, though, Tohaj, Eric, Magnus, Benji, Marcus, Chapix, Saudi, Bad Sniper, Hawkers, so tons and tons of European players who we're used to seeing in this stage. Continuing to try and make it. We've talked about it. The queues have 8 minutes left in them, so players desperately need to try and be getting in their games, try and get in the last final chance, because this is what it's all about. You either hit the top 80 here or you're thrown into the reboot round with kind of the rest of that field to fight for a top 20 spot over 10 games to get into the grand final.
And I mean, we're already looking at what it takes to hit top 80, and you can see it's performances, big performances. So the reboot round is going to be that much more difficult. You're going to need, honestly, the plays of your life to get out of there. But we'll see here, Benji finally turn on the gas pedal here at an unprecedented time. Okay, it's because the storm is already moving, so he waited. Notice how the entire lobby waited until the storm started moving, and now 4th zone's looking like a war zone. Prior to this, it was so calm. Literally right before the storm. So here's the shot. He's going to find some whites here. Can he find the one more to connect and take this player out? It's not even trying to reload right now. He does want to lose the opportunity, and it is going to pay off. It's going to be Hawkers who falls down. There was another one there, though. Notice Sundown, he's running out of medium. Yeah.
Just an absolutely fantastic angle. As soon as he got that first 25 white hit marker, he knew that player was going to have to try and come back around, knew there were more players trying to rotate around, and now we have our top 40, and pretty much everyone has been able to squeeze around that inside of the circle. Not too many players who are going to be moving or being taken down, and as I say that, Trulex actually catches somebody with a nice little snipe shot there, but this half-in, half-out reveal is really going to be key in terms of dictating what's going to happen with the rest of the lobby. And you see right away Benji beginning to 90 himself upward in those hard mats, so we can assume that he pulled zone, as now we have Casterly and EG's Queasy down on the other side. And yep, as we can see, the zone did pull kind of all the way to the eastern, slightly north side. Casterly is about as far from it as you can get, and a lot of people are on kind of a storm side rotation, so that's going to be tough.
A lot of people from where he needs to be, and the success point at the end of the road here. He's got the floppers, he's got decisions to make, but lucky for him, the pad is going to come out. He's going to cut straight across. And this is a high pad, very risky one. He's going to follow this opponent straight in before trading the shotgun shot there. It's not going to connect. But he's in soft mats here, only in wood. Choosing to kind of tarp out and cut across. He still has a little bit of weight to go here. This layer is congested, so he's going to move on up. Good shotgun shot you see right there. Just chipping away what he can as he can while he's on the move. Now finally sweeping over to the hard mats here. He's finds a moment to pop the big pot. 3 floppers, though. You have to think that Castery will be making his way to endgame if he continues to make good rotations. And here's your map. Here's your other players. Everyone behind Supremacy, Kaizen, and Tohaj there. They all have to still continue to make their way. They have to cut across. Here they have the sniper. Tohaj lets his guard up, and all of a sudden Tiago falls down. He jumped into the wrong box. Well played for Tohaj right there. Paying close attention to his surroundings. Quick little edit reset plays into his favor here now, and it's a full refresh for him. He even gets to pick up the heavy sniper now.
And that's what it's all about. You need to be finding those refreshes, and Tohaj particularly has to be pushing for today. Only scoring 41 points on yesterday. He needs not only the placements which he's able to play for, but he needs to be finding the eliminations. You can see here Sebi holding on that mythic loadout, plus the epic shotgun, as well as the potion. So desperately trying to do everything he can. He has plenty of time, but also only sitting on the 1 elimination with zone pulling towards him should give him plenty of opportunities.
And just gathering information. As we know here, Sebi picked up 87 points in his day 1. He's at 58 right now, 60. We're estimating you're going to need like 190, maybe just upwards of 180 points, guys. So this 60 mark, he's on track. He's close, but he needs more. He needs Elan's or some kind of big end game. The grappler in his inventory is going to be the swing for him as he flies up to height. Nearly takes that wall out there. This is becoming closer and closer. The grappler closing the gate right now, allowing him to look back at the zone. The one shot he puts on a player is going to be enough to Storm takes him out. That's Eric who falls. He finds another headshot here, and it's the body shot that finishes lower off now. And the grappler allowing him to really determine how he cuts across the field, how he travels all of this spacing here now. Sebi, with 23 players remaining, is looking to do something big for himself here. 68 points now on the board. So much closer to breaking his way to top 180. Top 80 as overall player. Someone jumps in the box. It's the fight that he needs to win. He does. It's Mersian who falls there. But as you can see, Benji Fishy comes in just fast enough to clean it up. And now all of a sudden the grappler is his. The mythic weapons are his. The loadout now elevated to the point to where it needs to be. And he's building up for height here. Robob's giving him a run for his money. But just wait. Allow Benji to kind of situate here. Settle back. He will be able to kind of hold this height. As he's looking, trying to see if the other layers are clear. Are they now? Castery's going to find someone there. Light's going to catch Yahtzee as well. Big pressure coming in right now. Benji taking his time here. He has high ground. You know what he's going to do with it. He's going to run the lobby now. Bad Sniper's going to fall. Chapek's going to fall. So Queasy is still in this game. Queasy is getting points as we speak right now. These are crucial for everyone who wants to break top 80. So much on the line to make it through the grand finals here. Benji Fishy still running it, though. He still has the high ground. He still has plenty of eliminations. This is how he's clawed his way up the leaderboard. Another headshot. My gosh, the mythic Sky's assault rifle, so good in these end games here. Well played though. 5 elims now, and he's just holding players off of the mountain. Someone down here with no builds. It's not going to be enough. He jumps right into his face. Amplify falls, and now it's a 1v1. It's Crank for height here, but little does he know, Benji has the grappler. He can go up whenever he chooses. He can build up. He can grapple up. Breaking through. Still deciding now. Very intense 1v1 here. Shots come down. Opens it up. 32 right there. He knows this player still has shield. The ramp wasn't up. The 50-50, and he hits the huge 180 on Trulex to close out the game in spectacular fashion. Well played for Benji Fishy.
And there's a reason why he is one of the absolute best of the best, putting the grappler to work there, being able to close out the rest of the lobby. And there's a reason he was on top yesterday. There's a reason he was on top so far today. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the end he was the one who ultimately took home the grand finals out of EU. He is just such a monstrous player regardless of game modes. He's been playing so well, particularly.
I feel like he's been waiting for this opportunity, right? He's like, okay, I'm back out here, like, people love me, and you know, maybe I've been putting on a few shows here and there, but no. I'm gonna show the world why I am Benji Fishy and why you see all these other players running around with Fishy in their name. Such a dope game there. I mean,
and
Monster,
I just wanted to jump on it and say, and it's so nice to see someone who is openly kind of you know, positive about the format. Like, he is a fan of solos, and then to prove it and show it. And yeah, if anyone was, you know, kind of doubting him, I mean, he's proving that he can be consistent against all odds. It doesn't matter what you say. Not only that, he plays retail row, right? Like, this is just his home turf right now. It really plays into his kind of whole chapter in general. I find Benji's performance to be phenomenal. It's something that all pro players should admire and try to kind of achieve themselves, because he's been doing something that's spectacular, without a doubt.
And you gotta admit too, I mean, like, I just don't know how Benji does it every time, but it's like in those moments in the game, and they're like these pure moments where it's like, hey, if someone were to be here at this exact moment, it would change their entire setup. It's like Benji's always there. He just like has a sense for these locations. I mean, you saw him dropping on that player right there and grabs the grappler of all things. And we've already seen Benji perform with the grappler, Sundown. You give him this thing, give him an inch, he takes a mile.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of just true for Benji in general. He's somebody who fundamentally, yes, he has great mechanics, yes, he has good decision making, but the thing I think he does best is he exploits other people's mistakes, and then he will continue to like ride it for as much of an advantage as possible. And with the queues now officially closed, looking down at the clock, 4:01 on the East means they're all said and done. These will be the final games we see out of EU. We'll see who the top 80 end up being. We'll also see who takes home that #1 spot. Benji honestly being a solid contender for it right now, particularly after that last game performance and his #1 spot yesterday. So gonna have to keep an eye on him.
Guys, this is it, man. After this, we'll have the top 80 with the final standings being posted later on in the week, but next week is grand finals. I don't know that my heart can take it, because these games have already been hyped. You know, there's so many moments where I'm just like cheering someone on and they get eliminated, or someone comes into the limelight. It's like, look, you need to be cheering for me as well, Zeke. Why aren't you doing that? There's so many big names here. And I got to think, like, especially with everyone else looking on the outside, right? You get eliminated, you don't make top 80. It's going to be that much harder to make it in through the reboot round next Friday. But this is it, guys. I don't know if you're ready, because I am, but it's time to get into the last game of EU. MDF, Sundown. Let's get into it, boys.
All right, Sundown, here we go.
Yeah. Go ahead, Monster. You can take this one away off of the start as we hop on in at the agency.
That's right, we're jumping in with Wolfies. I mean, and what I wanted to say was just how many players are kind of going at it, just to be able to track all the stories. Like Wolfies, Leshy, we've been way up at the top, right? Kind of taking it by storm, especially Leshy. Leshy's so impressive. I mean, heartbreaking second places, right? Kind of just behind Benji, but still very much in the running. Leshy is someone else who has also been doing the same things, the same praises we've given to Benji throughout the course of the day. I mean, he's proven that he can do it as well week after week, so. Wolfies, though, last time we watched this, I mean, he cleared out the entirety of the agency. So I'm going to kind of sit in here. Is it going to be enough? Oh my gosh, just met face to face with the minigun, but it shows that, hey, you have the better aim. You're going to win the engagement there, as the minigun just wasn't enough. Now popping the big pot. Just trying to get sorted here. Let's take a step back for a second. You see, there's Finn, there's Mage. These are players that have been here. Not finding success, though. Not too much success, at least. Not the way we've seen a player like Moki going against Benji in retail, still kind of finding her footing and pushing the way through. So sometimes you just feel like one POI with too many players can be a problem.
Oh, it's absolutely a problem. I mean, we've seen a number of times, and it's why people are so concerned about kind of claiming the drop spots and being like, oh, I'm here, you don't want to come here, because all of a sudden you see 2, 3, 4 players of a high caliber, and it's like, man, even if I am really good at this spot, is it worth my effort to have to beat X, Y, and Z every time if I want to come out of this drop spot? Most of the time, most players are going to say no. There are very few players who are just going to be like, good luck. the entire time and go through, but Wolfies is one of the players of that caliber, and you can see 99 tag into immediate swap over into that SMG, takes down Specky Finn, and we've already seen 33 players go down. So a third of the lobby has fallen here pretty early on.
I mean, it's looking like deja vu with how quick Wolfies makes work of the agency. Now we're coming over to Crew here, and Air kind of going toe-to-toe right now in the main building of Lazy Lake here. He's going to jump in, looking to take these walls and kind of pressure down now. Still playing very sneakily. That sound cue there that the Mini was being popped, being drunk. And if he turns that corner, he is in the wrong camera angle, so very, very careful. Oh, there it is. He's kind of swinging his way right through. He doesn't care. He goes all the way through. It's Crew, who he had already weak from the previous shots now, and takes him right out. Someone's right on the back of his heels. For a second there, I thought he was editing through the builds, but that was actually his wall. So he was able to open it and kind of turn the fight around, hit that first shot. Wavy Air is on his heels now. The minigun coming in here, Sundown.
And you can see Wavy doing a really good job to make sure he maintains high ground and blocking this player off, following him every single one of the steps. And Crew going down there is absolutely huge as we see Wavy continuing to be the aggressor, but that was the 6th place player at the World Cup. He only scored 74 points on day 1, so that's effectively going to end his run. He's not going to be playing in that grand final. And you see Wavy here against Styler, or against another Wave player, or Styler against Wavy, apologize, double waves going on. But Wavy Airkin is the better Wave. Wave Styler can wave goodbye to his chances there as he gets sent back to lobby. 97 points so far, and the Waves crashed on down, but Airkin was certainly the stronger one.
That's right, and I mean, Airkin is really doing big things. Yesterday he scored 100 or 81 points with 101st overall, and now at 97 points. I mean, he's on track right now to definitely break through the grand finals. Can he continue to pick it up? Will this be his big breakout game to just barely hit on the bubble into the grand finals right now? So you take a look at the rest of the Lazy Lake here. I see Ibuhai kind of going for a run right now. He's running from the Waves, Sundown.
He effectively needs either 2 more elim slots, or 2 more eliminations and 2 placement slots, or 3 elims, and he should be close enough to that line. But you can see here how he wants to keep pressing forward. You see Ibuhai boxing up right away with Metal, kind of indicating that he doesn't want anything to do with this right away, committing his hard mats immediately to the fight. But Airkin gets 2 great shots down on him before Ibuhai can even wall it off. Then you see Rockets come out right away, almost as a defensive measure. Comes through, probably should have stuck to the SMG, but with enough time to swap over, Ibuhai gets taken out, and Airkin finds one of the 3 elims he needs. That pushes him up to 182 points combined. 1 more elim should get him close. 2 should guarantee it based off of kind of what we've seen so far. However, we will need to check those final standings at the end. And again, don't forget what we show on here might not necessarily be the absolute final one. We still need to wait out for all of the confirmed tiebreakers, etc.
I mean, it just shows the stakes that some of these players are riding with right now, the stresses to perform right now. Airkin needs these eliminations to solidify his way right now. Little does he know there is another player off to the side. You just look at the mini-map. There it is. That cursor turning its kind of focus towards him, and he's just going to back it on up. Lucky for him, he was at max shield, because if he would have gotten the shield crack there, it might have been all over. But it's all right. It's Airkin who's hunting down Skal. It's Scully who's on the run right now. Okay, he's going to back all the way up. Airkin's still hunting, though. He's looking left and right. He needs this. This is a big elimination for him. Can he seal the deal here? Scully also very much on track for qualification. Remember, he was in 64th place, so he actually broke that 80th average. Wait a second. You have someone right above it. He's going to jump out. Ooh, he's going to get hit.
What did he hit him with? Was that a snipe? I don't know. Tons of damage coming out, but YC getting the advantage of him. I think he might have actually flicked him with that sniper rifle as he came through right off of the start. It was a great shot to then be able to finish it off with the pump, but that's tough to have your run debatably end right there. I don't think 183 points will be enough. You're probably going to be right on the outside looking in, and that's a tough way to go down.
Dreams being crushed right now. Potentially, we'll see how close, but we know players like Eric gonna be so close. Here's Verse, who's on the run for his life right now, though. Against the drum gun. Big 100 pop right there. Can he get in the box? He is setting up to hop in. He's in now, and it shuts it down. Exterios is the one who he ends up taking out, which means that Exterios won the agency, so Wolfies was taken out this game. Potentially, right? Maybe. We'll find out later.
Either taken out or at least forced away here, as now 3 players all collapsing on top of each other. You have Teak, Verse, and one other hanging out. Verse saying, all right, I'm going to top off since I know there's a ton of people here. Also does have that drum gun, can opt to go forward, gets a 25 fag through, but nothing additionally. Does get piece control of that wall, but knows there's another player right next to him, so can't be too overly aggressive. Walls the player off, rotates the ramp, not quite going to find him there. So he's going to disengage down, take the time to reload the drum gun, saying, all right, now can I have my 25 shield, please? Thank you.
And I mean, you got to respect it, too. He's putting on a fight from effectively 2 different angles right now, making sure he's keeping that focus to the left and right sides right now, but still cautious to give away too much. He didn't dare walk into those enemy builds. Great shots on the retreating player now, as this just Verse who's going to jump in the box here and make quick work with Teak. Sends him right back, ending Teak's run now. Remember, queues are closed, guys. This is basically the final game that we will be covering here on the show right now for the EU region.
You can see Aqua picking up an Elim there in the feed, so him still desperately trying to push forward and make himself kind of in that qualification range. You saw how he was kind of trending right towards the backside of that top 80. Verse trying to wall off everything here so he can be safe while pressuring this player. The player also trying to push back on top of him, but a good job dropping down into the box and does what the drum gun does best and just rips through the player there, pushing him up to 86 points so far.
Definitely is finding his stride right now, showing that the drum gun can give and taketh. So you can see right now, he's doing very, very well. A lot of eliminations come to mid-game for such early to mid-game, coming in with 4 right now. It's a big swing. That can be a big push in any single direction. We know that, as tendency kind of shows, as history shows, these games, you can see, look at the lobby population, right? These are players that are potentially just trying to jump in, get any queues out that they can, right? Get any games in they can. These are the last runs, some of which might just be too far to break through. Trying to play spoiler for others. There's Wolfies. Wolfies survived.
He did. I was going to say, I think it was probably more likely that he would just bail out of the situation over at the agency. There are a number of players looking to collapse on that. And speaking of, it looks like there's a player on the high ground directly above him going to try and ambush him, but only hitting 36 tags. So Wolfie's immediately going to go up, does get coned off, but then takes the advantage, cones his opponent off, knows he has the high ground, double edits down, but not quite going to find the first shot, commits to the second one. And honestly, Ensar, you misplayed that. That should have been a win for him. Wolfie's kind of getting bailed out a little bit there by sticking to the AR, and his opponent missing, I think, 2 really, really key pump shots. But, you know, sometimes you don't have to be the best. You just have to be better than the person you're fighting.
That is a sundown line right there. We've seen it happen multiple times there. Here's Dietrich and Lysen, who are kind of hanging out right now. Lysen has had an exciting performance overall, and hey, look, he's holding it down.
Let's go, Lysen. Let's
go. There's another one for him.
I think that'll put him into qualification range. He had a solid day yesterday as well, and sitting on 100 points, I honestly wouldn't be shocked. And I would say Lysen, outside of Big 60, has been probably the most impressive of the players to come from the mobile and console track, consistently putting up good performances against these top numbers when pretty much everyone else, kind of, and me included, counted a lot of these guys out at the start. From pretty much week 1 in the opens, they say, no, we're here to play, we know what's going on, it's okay. I mean, they've been putting up some really good numbers and winning some key fights, and not necessarily the most mechanical advantages, but hitting shots and putting themselves in position to kind of take advantage of their opponent's mistakes. A lot of like what we talked about with Benji Fishy.
That's right. I mean, definitely impressive performances from these new faces, and that's what the Opens is all about, finding these new stars and giving them the platform and the opportunity. Here's Lysen, though. You can see he has that grappler loot, so kind of interesting to see him rotating in from the eastern side of the map, back west towards the zone, when the grappler is found northwest, so kind of opposite side. Now, I'm sure this will catch players off guard just in general. Someone gets jammed up by Sky's assault rifle being held out. It's such a terrible weapon for players to pressure you down with. No one wants to see it. Oh, the heavy sniper. He was spotted out in the box. The fresh build. Great edit, though, to jump down into the box. And oh my gosh, a third party literally bailed him out right there. It was not looking good. That was a legendary tactical shock, and that could have been so bad. He was being out-pressured.
But you see right away how as soon as he is able to pick up the elimination, he's going to then build out the base, make sure he's using all the materials. And also, he did get the cone sniped out from him, but he immediately replaced it and then edited back down to not end up in too bad of a spot. You can also see almost a cheeky double snipe coming out here with Wolfies, rocking the heavy snipe into the suppressed snipe. So he does have kind of that opportunity to pick somebody off who might think they're secure. If he's able to line up that headshot, the heavy sniper will insta-break any wall it comes in contact with. So that's kind of a large reason why a lot of players end up running it. That and its one-shot headshot potential. The body shot still hurts a solid amount even after the ghost tampering. Kind of knocked it down there from 157 to 137. Still able to put out a lot of pressure as Wolfies is just going to continue to kind of peek through the top of this cone edit, see what's going on out there, not really overexpose himself, and just looking for shots.
He doesn't have to do too much right now. He's kind of hanging out here. He's gathering information, his third zone here. You have to think about it. Players like Wolfies who are at the top here, they already know they have enough. Securing a victory would just be all the more better. That's why they're playing slow here. Oh my gosh, what a good follow-up. I mean, you get to see the effectiveness of it, how quickly the suppressed sniper can come out and ready up in comparison to the counterpart. The heavy sniper is the only one that takes forever to kind of charge up and prepare that first shot. You got to kind of love the tactic he's putting into play right now. It's not something we get to see very often, let alone seeing solos here.
I mean, I think it's only because he's already qualified. I don't think under any other circumstance you'd see him if the game was like super high-end mattered, if he was pushing for first place. With that being said, it gives you a little bit more of that elimination pressure, but I just couldn't ever imagine actually running that over some floppers or some extra shields. With that being said, you see Mongo thinking there's somebody in the bush. You can see a little bit of a ping dropped onto it, just waiting to see if somebody's hanging out there, but realizing nope. As we do have a relatively thin lobby here, only 24 players remaining, so we do have kind of a little bit more room for players to be navigating around and having the ability to kind of find some space. You can see Mongo making sure he's topped completely off on Brick, as he does have a relatively long and straight rotation into the zone with nobody else near him, so it's going to get awkward real quick.
It is right, and Mongo's basically on track to qualify too. Just needs to continue to stay consistent, get a little more points to kind of seal that deal. These are a lot of big names we're going to be seeing pushing into grand finals. I don't know if you noticed, but when we jumped into Mongo's perspective, the snipes were coming in. Wolfies was nearly zipping Mongo's head right off the shoulders there. He's setting up a shot. Ooh, I like that. He's using a suppressed sniper when out in the open here to kind of mitigate the attention that can be brought to him. Subtle things like that keep players in the kind of up and up here. Here's the heavy snipe follow-up. Oh, so nice. First is going to fall there.
Brilliantly done, too. And another reason to be rocking the suppressed as the first one, it has that faster reload time. The heavy snipe does have a really long reload time, so if you're just trying to sneak kind of quick shots out when in the open, you're probably better keeping the suppressed one out. The body shots either way will have a semi-noticeable amount of difference, but headshots are still going to drop the player down either way, so not too noticeable, the impact going through. As we check out who is left in the lobby, we have Lazen, King Bokaj, AGO, and I have no idea how to put that. Skolnick, maybe? I'm going to go with that. I have no idea. I apologize. My Polish is not good / existent at all. As we do have a lazy lake ending, so tons of natural cover going to be in play. And Lazen has that veritable horde we talked about. He continued pulling zones, so he effectively has 2 loadouts worth of builds and floppers and shields hanging out down there, as well as skies. So he's set up in a fantastic position right now.
And not only that, he's sitting on a cachet of loot just from the Elam that he did manage to kind of pick off, the one that landed on his lap here. So 7 seconds, guys. We get to determine whether or not Laze is going to find zone here, or if he's going to have to use one of these launch pads. Regardless of what, I mean, he has the grapple. He has plenty of options. Yeah, he's just going to have to end up cutting across here. I wonder now, though, what would be safer in this situation, to launch pad across or to grapple? He's going to go with the launch pad here, excuse me. He's going to open fire completely on someone there. And oh, you can tell he's just feeling it right now. He knows he's probably on track. He's doing good. He's putting shots down, putting pressure down, taking all the risk just for the placement points at this point. All the glory here.
And we're closing in on that top 20 as well, which then you'll see every 5 players who go down is an increase in points coming through. And then once we get to top 10, every little position is a bump. Lazen, Kubix, and Eric all kind of choosing this player next to him, the one who just flew in. They did pull zone yet again, so Lazen still just kind of gets to hang out. That's, what, 4 straight zones pulled directly on top of him, so some good positioning coming out of him in terms of that. Only a number of players who have to rotate all the way down, so he's got a decent amount of room to work with, but not too many fire lines, so can expect not a ton of players to drop here. As we talked about, moving through Lazy Lake, a ton of natural cover means the only real contact is going to happen kind of in these box-to-box ambushes as Lazen tries to make it happen here. The player is able to cone themselves off, though, and disengage for a second. Lazen, though, gets the cone in a brilliant replace there.
So nice, so clean. Now 6 eliminations. He's doing so well for himself. The RPGs are coming in, though. I think he might have taking a little too much aggro there, and yeah, you can see the lobby is telling the telltale signs of someone who's down below. He's just gonna have to build up here. Lucky for him, this is all his, though. He was able to retreat right back here now, just on the outside of the zone. He's gonna branch his way in one more time. Probably gonna be looking to jump down and get another refresher before he tabs out. I mean, he doesn't have to, but the loot's right there. It's so tempting. You can see he's kind of scouting down below. Actually, there's not much left there. It's all been scavenged up. So
yeah,
now,
I think in this circumstance, he just wants to hit to the outside with the grappler, or because he does have all of those floppers, he can just wait and then grapple back around. Like, he's in no pressure to kind of go right away.
and I love this. He's saving that grappler. Yep, just using it to only get way ahead here. He has so many launch pads off of the impactful eliminations, and someone's going to land in this box. Is it going to be enough? It is. It's Hupek, who needed that Elam so bad there. It's going to be a 74th point in this session alone here. I see Mongrel still in the running now, and Hupek all of a sudden has the Dream loadout, the loadout of dreams waiting for him. It's Sky's Assault Rifle, the grappler here, and max material essentially now with 4 floppers. My gosh, Sundown.
And I mean, this is everything he needs right now. Right now, Hupek desperately trying to push himself forward. He needs as many points as possible, sitting on the 74 right now. Taking a little bit of fall damage there. Not necessarily going to be happy with that. Still has the 3 floppers, but a really good job diagonal tarping around the outside. Does have the big pots to be able to pop up there. We saw him pick those up earlier. Has a launch pad, however, that's likely not going to come into play unless he decides to go late with the 3 floppers. However, he has a grappler, which might be slightly more effective, but he needs to continue trying to push forward and find whatever elimination points he can. He's sitting on only 74 points right now. Closing in on the top 15 as Lockkick picks up Anis. What's the question, Monster?
I'm saying, who's on top? Who does he have to overcome? Who is he going to have to overtake here? He's going for the flopper play now. He's deciding to make that right here. It's Mongrel who's way up top, and Mongrel's got his focus on Norward, who just hit a launch pad. Is he off guard? Will he catch him? Oh, he's going to catch him. He's going to hit him with the AR shot from the storm. So cheeky. And Hupek now, all of a sudden, is scrambling for his life. Someone is right behind him. Also taking the stab for height here. I see Wolfie's falling in the feed. Kinzel takes out John B, so he's still on the run right now. Hupek's about to get into a little shotgun fight here. He has the drum gun now as well. He managed to pick that up with the little time that he had, Sundown.
but he did lose height to Dark Reno, who went up off of the launch pad after Hupek committed. But as I say that, Dark goes down, and then we're immediately going back up over mountain. So all these players who are stuck on the low ground need to find a way either up and around the outside, as Nowhere does, or over those old builds. Nowhere immediately recognizing that and getting to the front of the zone. As you see, Item goes down the side. You can see all of the loot falling down the side of that mountain, as a number of players need to come from top down. Norwood, though, playing the ultimate low ground and is in a relatively safe spot. As I say that, catching a number of bullets with his face there. Can he win this fight? He does. Come Legend sick, losing that one, but Dark Reno dropping all the way down from the high ground, and now it's a 1v1, and right away you can see here, Hupek, the player who is able to steal away the high ground from Mongrel with that one shot, has Dark Reno on his very last leg, has him pinned against the wall, and that will be it as Dark is forced up. Hupek closes it out with a brilliant 3-elimination victory royale, pushing him up 57 points for that game, 108 on the day. But the question is, will it end up being enough to push him up into the top 80? We're going to throw it on over to Zeke, who... Zeke, you at a house party right now?
Playing games, we're always keeping it real, and we got our boy 72 Hours, aka Tom, who's been back on that Fortnite grind. What's up, dude? If I had a hot tub, I'd be in there. That'd be the interview. Great, but I'm sorry, man.
Hear you loud and clear, man. Wish we could all be in the hot tub together right now.
Where's the hot tub, man? I need more pictures. Where's the hot tub, bro?
I'll try to update a little bit more with the hot tub. Right now, it's winterized, so a couple more months, man. Maybe we'll open that bad boy back up.
Sundown's got one. He's gonna be working on one, so we'll figure it out. We'll get together.
Where's the invite, Sundown?
Dude, I'm gonna have to hit him up. I'll tell him. I'll ask him. We got some questions for you, though. I'm gonna hand it over to these two. Let's get some. Let's get this party going. Let's go.
Go ahead, Clay.
All right, this one's from Shio. He said, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with yeah. And banana on pizza too. Have you seen that picture of banana on pizza?
No, that's too far, man. That's too far.
You take it.
Nah, I got a real question.
It's not a big deal. It's just all right, whatever.
I got a real question. How do you
Absolutely.
keep your hair so? Because everybody's always, how do you keep your hair so nice when we can't find barbers, bro? Like, I'm cutting my own hair right now, and it looks so scuffed. Look at this, like terrible.
I'll say it's like a buzzer, get a. Okay, so I did do a buzzer around the sides. I didn't touch the top, and the back of my head. Like, I don't know if you can tell, it's a little messed up. Like the top of my hair covers it, so you can't really tell. But as long as you don't leave your house, no one can tell. They only see the sides and the front of your head.
He's right about that.
So, as long as you just cut the sides are good, you're fine. And grow the top. That's simple. That's the juice right there.
There you go. Let's get to Fortnite a little bit. You've been watching the games today, and I'm curious, as EU finishes, like, who's impressed you, man? Like, because there's some new names out here that are really throwing some curveballs at us.
I mean, you gotta give respect to Benji, right? He's always up there. He's our sole keyboard warrior, back at it again, staying up in the ranks of the controller army. I was watching Wolfies. Wolfies is pretty nuts. I was watching, I think he's Russian. 2 seconds. I was watching that guy. I like watching that guy a lot. That guy was really good. And yeah, obviously Wolfies was lasering people. That was awesome to watch too, don't get me wrong.
If you had to pick someone from NA East, who's winning?
So you gotta be Liquid Stretch or Cheater Scoped. I'm rooting for Cheater Scoped though. I hope he wins the whole thing. I'm sorry, Stretch. I need Cheater Scope to win. I need Cheater Scope to win. I just need him to win.
Sundown wants to know and wants me to ask you about the reboot round and how you think you will do.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Top 20. Top 20 for sure. No problem.
Bala has transformed. It's his true form. Well, obviously, Tom, we appreciate you coming on. I want to go ahead and give this time to you to open up, plug anything you want, your Twitch, your streams, all of it. Floor is yours, my friend.
Please follow my socials. Twitch.tv/emadgg. Twitter, emadgg. YouTube, emadgg. Thank you for listening, guys. Appreciate it. Code, I don't know. Is it emadgg? I don't know what his code is. But yeah, please follow, guys.
Awesome. All right, 32. Well, guys, I'm going to go over and throw this show to a break, so keep partying, and I'll be right back.
Pleasure, guys.
Oh, man. That's, sometimes that's just how it's gotta be, Fortnite fam. You know, we like to meme it up sometimes. It's okay. But with that, we are done with EU. We are going to be taking a little bit of a break here. But when we come back, we will have NA East on deck. We'll take a look at the standings from EU and see who the top 80 is. Don't forget, final standings will be posted later on, so check our socials for that. As always, Fortnite fam, we love you guys, and we'll see you after this break. Stay tuned. Psych, you thought I was leaving. I'm not done. All right, here we go. It's time to revolt. Just kidding. All right, Fortnite. For real. We'll see you guys after this break.